Taylor says, bring it. Usyk goes to work. Lovely combination.
It's poise, patience, and power at its best. McCaskill with a nice left hook right there. His physique is fantastic.
What an exclamation point for Gennady Golovkin.
There is your ferocious finish.
It's been stopped all over.
Fight fans, welcome to Before the Bell here at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, as we count down the biggest fight of the year in front of the biggest boxing audience of the year.
And we all know who the king is. The king is Saul Alvarez. Now, come on. But can the Briton Billy Joe Saunders dethrone the king?
Canelo Alvarez, who has made it perfectly clear his goal in 2021 is to unify all 4 super middleweight belts.
Muy pocas personas han logrado ser campeones unificados.
Ryan Garcia says no one is going to beat Canelo.
No other fighter at 168 has the resume that Canelo has.
To be a great, you've got to be fearless.
To fight a great, you have to be fearless.
I don't give a about Canelo Alvarez. Not two This will be the biggest upset in boxing history.
This fight is a mega fight.
It's history collecting all the belts. You get in this sport to win the belt.
It's fantastic for the sport.
Todos los títulos en 168 libras y obviamente en mexicano nunca ha habido ni uno.
These two fighters are fearless.
This is my night. We do what I want to do here.
This is the toughest fight left for Canelo Alvarez.
As us gypsies say, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. It will not be all his own way.
This is going to be a massive fight.
This is a legacy fight.
Great night ahead of us of boxing as we're joined by our guy, former super lightweight champion, Chris Algieri.
Welcome.
Listen, Chris, obviously the Cinco de Mayo weekend used to be Floyd Mayweather's boxing holiday. Now it belongs to Canelo Alvarez. This is his 3rd super middleweight championship fight in 5 months. What does that say about these young fighters, some even champions, that are only fighting once, maybe twice a year?
You know, Canelo is flipping the script. He's showing these young fighters that you don't have to fight just once or twice a year. You can stay busy in between fights, almost like a throwback to Julio Cesar Chavez, who used to have a lot of fights in between his mega fights. So Canelo's setting a new precedent for these young guys that you can fight more often and still be an elite level, top level guy.
Well, you're still young. I'm going to sign you up for 3 fights then.
Let's go.
We still got time, right?
Line them up.
No, but check it out, man. I mean, Canelo, he is king. We know that. But does that mean that he can't be beaten?
No, anyone can be beaten on any given night, and he's got a very tough guy in front of him tonight in Billy Joe Saunders.
There we go. Look, talking about skills, right? The other 2 champions at super middleweight are known to be very skilled fighters. We're talking Caleb Plant and obviously Billy Joe Saunders. Who would you say is the toughest opponent for Canelo Alvarez between the 2?
You know, we've seen in the past, slicksters, boxing style types have given Canelo trouble, but Billy Joe Saunders, I believe at this stage, is a bigger threat because of his experience and the fact that he's a southpaw, which we know gives Canelo trouble.
All right, well, let's get to the Before the Bell scheduled action. Is getting underway very shortly. His first up is Kelvin Davis, looking to make it win number 2 when he takes on Jan Marcelic, the Czech fighter who has won his last 2 fights by knockout.
Then you got hard-hitting Mexican welterweight Christian Alan Gomez Duran, and he takes on local Texan Xavier Wilson over 8 rounds.
All right, top prospect Keyshawn Davis has won his first 2 fights by knockout. The former amateur star tonight faces Jose Antonio Mesa.
And then Davis's old amateur rival Mark Castro makes it his 3rd Canelo undercard appearance, once making his debut in San Antonio last year. 2 wins by knockout so far, but the tough Mexican has Irvin Macias Castillo across the ring from him tonight.
All right, and then we'll be handing it over to Dazn for the main card, all right? And starts off with heavyweights as the heavyweight ranked Cuban Felix Sanchez looks to continue his unbeaten run when he faces New York's Nagy Aguilera.
Then super welterweights Kieran Conway and unbeaten former Olympian Solomon Sissoko should have fought last year, but finally clashed tonight.
All right, then it's world title action as defending WBO lightweight champion, flyweight champion Elwin Soto makes the 3rd defense of his crown against Japanese Katsunaro Takayama.
And finally, Saul Canelo Alvarez, big super middleweight unification showdown with Britain's unbeaten Billy Joe Saunders takes place live and exclusive on Dazn and in front of 70,000 fans here at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas.
That's right. So enjoy the countdown to the big fight. Get your wings, your beer, and get ready. Let's go over to the action and David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas for an evening of World Championship Professional Boxing, Canelo versus Saunders. And we begin tonight with a 4-round super lightweight affair. Now, entering the arena, please welcome from the Czech Republic, Jan Marshall Marsalek. Hello. I think the mic is off in the arena.
It has one of those senses of the big occasion, a big night in the Big D. We're talking Dallas, Texas, or more specifically, it is Arlington, Texas, in the house that houses the Cowboys. But today, it'll be an old-fashioned shootout amongst the fighters who step in as we welcome you, fight fan, on this terrific before-the-bell occasion. This card has some excitement to it. Chris Algieri, you and I were in Miami 70 days ago. Good to be back with you, sir. We know that there is a stepping stone now. This is the biggest spotlight that a lot of these fighters will have ever contested in, such as Marsalek, the Czech, who makes his way to the ring. This is a big occasion for them.
Honestly, everyone below Canelo, this is the biggest occasion of their careers. So at this stage, for these young fighters, it's an absolutely tremendous opportunity for them to showcase their skills in front of a humongous live audience.
And now, set to make his ring walk, please welcome from Norfolk, Virginia, the undefeated Kelvin Davis.
Well, for most, this occasion will be the biggest stage, but this is the type of fighter, Kelvin Davis, part of a trio of brothers who all get into the sweet science. We'll see two of them tonight, and the first will be Kelvin Davis, who's trying to make a name for himself. He's already fought once professionally, procured the win, but some people have gotten him mixed up with old concrete Kelvin Davis, a fighter from the past who established himself with a quality career as an IBF cruiserweight crown. But that's a name from the historical books as far as Kelvin's concerned. He's looking to make that name for himself again tonight.
Yeah, talented guy at 6'1", campaigning at 140 pounds. Absolutely tremendous height, 74-inch reach. I mean, this guy is super long for the weight class and wants to use that height and reach against his opponent tonight.
Yeah, it's safe to say that all boxers come in with a lot of confidence. There's bravado, but this young man, he feels as if now, at 24 years of age, he needs to make that big step. Tried to start to set his sights on the Olympics, but then in the semifinals came up short. Really said, you know what, Olympics, I'm pushing aside. Already my little brother has said he's going pro. I'm going to do so first. He did win his first match before Keyshawn, his younger brother, was able to. He feels that this is an occasion that plays into his strengths.
Yeah, I think so. From what I've seen from the tape, he does have a very professional style. He walks guys down, uses his reach, and he's got good power in that straight left hand.
That first pro win came just ahead, but look at this. The Davis brothers come in, part of that DB3 brand that we'll talk more about as the day unfolds. A combined 3-0. He looks to establish himself as a 2-0 starter as a pro, as he brings all his skill set here to the ring in Dallas. This AT&T Stadium, what a beautiful setting to have Canelo Saunders later tonight, but boy, stay tuned for the fun that's to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, USA, the home of the Cowboys, and we are live on Dazn for Canelo Saunders. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We are sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, Air Force Reserve, Tecate, Bet Online, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Orange Crush, and Valueway. All of tonight's bouts are sanctioned under the auspices of the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. The assistant manager is Jim Erickson. Introducing your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside: Robert Chapa, David Iokabuchi, and Anthony Moss. And at the sound of the bell, your 3rd man in the ring, referee Ruben Perez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 4 rounds of boxing scheduled in the super lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the red with the gold and white trim. He scaled 140.4 pounds, and he stands with his head trainer, David Dvorak. His professional record, 8 wins, 2 defeats, with 7 wins coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of Pardubice, Czech Republic, introducing Jan Marsalek. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands with his head trainer, Tyler Trask. He wears the navy blue and silver. He scaled 143.8 pounds. His young professional record thus far perfect: 1 fight, 1 victory, and that victory came by way of knockout. Fighting out of Norfolk, Virginia, introducing Kelvin Night Davis.
Okay, gentlemen, I give you instructions in the dressing room. I want you to obey my commands at all times. Take yourself at all times. Trunks are good here. Trunks are good here. Gentlemen, touch them up.
Ruben Perez, ring referee, gives the instructions, and we're ready to go. The first of 4 fights today before the bell. Thanks for joining us, Fight Fan. And they are punched in. Gloves are up and underway. Opening round of this scheduled 4 rounds, and already Marshalik finds himself on the canvas. A bit of a slip early. But there is Kelvin Davis, not wasting any time trying to get in early.
Like I had said when we opened, Kelvin Davis very relaxed in there, very professional style, takes his time, walks his man down, uses that southpaw jab like we see right there.
We're already starting to see the advantage. It's Marshalik who has the advantage as far as experience, fighting his 11th fight overall. That's 10 times as many times into the ring professionally as his opponent. But everything else skews Kelvin Davis's way. He's got a 5-inch advantage height-wise, 4 inches on the reach, and already the aggressive style coming to the forefront.
And already there we saw a little right hook to the body. And Kelvin Davis's pro debut, he threw some very effective body punches to get his opponent out of there pretty early.
Marshalik hailing from the Czech Republic. He was a former MMA fighter, had more than a dozen contests in the mixed martial arts format, but then decided, you know what, I've got a passion for boxing too. Put himself in the ring, finds himself with an 8-2 record, 7 knockouts. But he's going to have his hands full already, we can tell from the quickness, just the quick pop from Davis.
Yeah, the quickness and the range. Davis is doing a great job of using that right southpaw jab as a stick, keeping his man on the end of it, and just looking to line up that straight left hand.
Left hand starting to just find a little vulnerability right in between the gloves of Marshalik. Tapping Jan on the nose already a few times in this opening minute and a half.
You know, being a fighter who came from another combat sport, I was a kickboxer prior to boxing. You know, and now we got Marshalik coming from MMA. You know, there is a distinct transition period. It's a difficult thing to overcome. A lot of the techniques may overlap and bleed into each other. So we'll see if Marshalik has had a chance to figure that out yet.
Yeah, came to boxing late, did Jan Marshalik. 25 years of age when he decided that this was going to be his passion and his pursuit. Hasn't fought a lot in the 8 years since being a professional.
Ooh,
but now he's showing a little skill set of his own and some quick hands. That left hand starting to get through, finding the cheek of Davis.
I was going to say, Marshalik has 7 knockouts in his 8 wins, so he does carry some power in those hands, and we saw that there when he caught Davis getting tall along the ropes. That left hook hit him on the side of the ear there.
Yeah, that's a effective ratio. 8 wins, 7 by knockout for Marshalik. We'll see if he's now able to make the read, the adjustments after that the peppering he took from Davis.
Yeah, I think Marshalik made a nice adjustment that you just mentioned. You know, he was staying on the outside, but now he's using a little bit of head movement, some feints to get himself inside and put some leather on Davis.
Yeah, so final bell on the opening round, and a good exchange between the two after Davis looked to establish himself early as the aggressor, things evening out as things finish. Yeah, again, 9 years difference between the two. We talk about the experience that Marshalik has, but it's not as if it's abundant and overwhelming. But for Kelvin Davis, just his second professional fight, a lot of questions, Chris, about what it takes to make that amateur step, if he would be able to really bring the skill set necessary for that next level.
Yeah, no, it's a difficult thing to do. They're really almost like different sports. You know, the amateur program going into the professional ranks, taking the headgear off, putting on those small gloves, thinking less about points and more about doing damage.
Yeah, for Marshalik, as he was able to turn things around, there's the left hand that's able to get in, just grazing the chin, but enough to be a wake-up call for Davis.
Yeah, for sure. Davis made a little mistake there. He moved back straight along the ropes with his head up in the air. That's what you do not want to do as a tall fighter. The shorter fighter can throw over the top and catch you.
Also responding very well, he realizes when that reach comes from Davis, Davis extends himself. Marshalik, if he's able to, kind of duck that, he can get in, maybe tight, and deliver a couple blows from close range as round two gets underway.
Having a longer reach is beneficial from the outside, but not on the inside.
Safe to say, in this case, as Marshalik looks to crowd in, almost get inside the trunks of Davis, he wants this to be a eyeball-to-eyeball fight.
Yeah, he wants to put his head on his chest and bang away at the body and over the top. Make it ugly, make it rough. Marshalik being very aggressive here, using his head movement, getting low. You know, he does have that MMA background, so almost looking like he's a wrestler trying to shoot in on his opponent.
Yeah, interesting that David Dvorak is in the corner for Marshalik. He is a MMA fighter currently who's going to be fighting in a week's time on a UFC card. He is acting as the corner for the Czech. They'll swap places in 7 days' time, as it will be Marshalik in the corner, former MMA fighter who is training Dvorak. What is the skills that brought for you when you made that transition from MMA to boxing that really you benefited, were able to use that as sort of the springboard?
You know, for me, I think we're seeing that even tonight now as well. It's just the professional experience. You know, being in tough fights, not fighting without a headgear for 20 fights prior to having my pro debut. So I had that experience of a combat sport where you had to protect yourself and had to have good defense.
That right hand from Davis, still trying to just find a bit of length to set up the left hand. Marshalik doing well to duck and move and stay out of the way. Just as a finishing thought, the epilogue 4-7-1 as an MMA fighter was Marshalik before making the transition to his current 8-2 status as a pro. Big cut from the right hand, but missing as the Czech found nothing but air.
Davis doing a good job of maintaining that height and reach, using a sneaky straight left hand, just really pot-shotting at this point. I'd like to see him let his hands go, put combinations together. Good head movement there from the 6'1" super lightweight.
Yeah, for Davis to be ducking and getting out of the way, is that a sense of Marshalik maybe telegraphing his punches a bit, or is it just the quickness of Davis to get out?
Probably a combination of the two. You know, Davis is recognizing the big swinging shots, and Marshalik is focusing more on the head, which I don't recommend. You have a tall guy with a long torso. You want to start at the body first, work your way up.
Yeah, member of the Norfolk 3, that is now the DB3. Davis Brothers 3 is the brand that Kelvin and Keon and the man we'll see later in our third fight, Keyshawn Davis. They're very proud of their roots in Norfolk, and of course it's got some good pedigree that's come from there previously.
Yeah, one being the Sweet Pea Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker, one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. Oh, good straight left hand there from Davis.
And able to follow it up, attacking the body and also getting one right on the crown of Marshalik's head as the ring of the bell comes to end the round. But Davis starting to score some good points and get the upper hand as the round finishes.
Excellent finish to the round there for Davis. Finished really strong, firing a straight left hand off the ropes. Got his man hurt for a moment there.
That is going to be absolutely electric as the evening goes on in this stadium that houses the Dallas Cowboys NFL franchise. 80,000 strong when filled to capacity for American football. They're expecting Chris tonight, and get this, in what we are in the midst of still a pandemic and what has been going on with sports, 70,000 expected for Canelo Saunders by the conclusion.
That is music to my ears. Boxing is back. Live events are back. It's so great to be here. It's going to be a tremendous amount of energy in here.
Yeah, a lot of precautions being taken for the fighters as well as the staffs for the crew from Matchroom as we get a look at that.
There's this shot that I said at the end of the round. Davis moved towards the rope, changed directions, fired a straight left hand, and then right on the chin of his opponent. Good round for Davis, was able to put in some real damage.
Yeah, precautions at the hotel as well as getting out here, but now it's all about getting down to the nitty-gritty and exchanging some leather between Marszalek and Davis. As we saw the replays at the end of the second round, starting to notice that perhaps that right hand, getting that little just movement on it, has given Marszalek a couple of fits because he's actually ended up right in the sights of the left.
Yeah, and that's something that, you know, Davis has been doing quite well at this point, using the right to land the left. He definitely seems like the straight left hand is his punch of choice.
Also, see if Marszalek can protect himself. He seems to be dropping his gloves a little bit here. He's doing so much work to avoid the long reach of Davis that he leaves himself a bit vulnerable.
Yeah, and Davis is really just looking to line up that straight left hand. You see him, he's starting to get the timing of Jan and starting to pick those left hands as Marszalek is moving his head. Wrestling there on the inside.
Ruben Perez saying, hold on, guys. Part now re-engage, making sure to keep order restored.
Yeah, you notice Davis doesn't use a snapping jab. It's much more of a pawing jab. He uses that 74-inch reach, keeps his opponent on the end, looking to really line up that straight left hand rather than do damage with the jab itself.
Mentioned this is just the second professional fight for Kelvin Davis. He made his pro debut in Los Angeles, fighting in a Ring City event last December where he got a second-round knockout of Michael Onesto. Not bad for the pro debut, and as mentioned, we had 3 fighters on this before the bell card that are unblemished in the early nascent stages of their career, as Kelvin seeks a 2-0 record. Now it's pick and choose time. Kelvin Davis looking for a target. He is just rearing back the bow, hoping that arrow is just going to find its way through to the bullseye.
Yeah, you see him. He's using his eyes really well right now, trying to get his range and his timing. You know, he was timing Marszalek well on the way in earlier in the round. Now is really just trying to kind of line up the power shots to get this. Get his man out of there. I think he hit him there, hurt him there with a straight left hand. Marszalek a little reckless at this point, looking for Hail Mary shots. He's having a lot of trouble getting past the range.
And starting to get stung. You're starting to see the battle here, the attrition of those right hand, then left hand follows by Davis that are finding their mark, starting to take something out of Jan. And a little more animation from Davis now as he senses some vulnerability.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a great job of settling the pace down, using his height and his reach, but he's definitely starting to do some more damage. You see a lot of red marks on the face of Jan Marszalek.
Yeah, and the body language of the two, it's Davis who comes out of his stance, that very fortified split stance where he was just trying to pick his target versus all of the effort that Marszalek has had to make. He just looks a little worse for wear. What will Marszalek have to try to accomplish here with his final round coming up? He's got to score some points. He's got to go for something big.
As far as I'm concerned, you know, he's down 3 rounds to nothing. Kelvin Davis has been in total control, has actually hurt his man a few times. I think that Marszalek has to go for broke this round. He's got to look for the knockouts. He's got to look for those big shots upstairs. It's never too late to go to the body, but I do believe that he needs to start really ringing some big shots upstairs.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. That points mean nothing at this point for Marszalek. He's got to go for big and broke and knock it out because this has been a one-sided fight.
That's the beautiful thing about boxing. Yeah. The points oftentimes don't matter because knockouts are the end-all be-all.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying earlier about Kelvin Davis was able to time his opponent as he was coming in, doing a great job of catching him on the way in with both left and rights.
And the final round in this scheduled 4-round bout as Kelvin Davis is just a couple minutes away from a 2-0 start to his professional career, unless there is something very, very hidden in the bag of tricks for Marszalek.
I love seeing a tall fighter fighting tall. He understands, he has the range. That's one thing a fighter can ever do. You can't grow. You either have the range or you don't. And Kelvin Davis certainly does, and he's using it to his advantage.
Well, Davis knows that he's got the upper hand now, and he's starting to toy with Marszalek just a bit. You saw a little bit of that rope-a-dope and a little tap of the glove on the top of the head. That didn't sit well with Jan, but that might, if that little flare-up of emotion, that actually could backfire for Marszalek. He has to be really composed here if he's going to go for that big cut.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, Davis is doing a great job of timing him, hitting him. He has hurt him, and so Marsalek has to be aware that, you know, the guy in front of him can do some damage as well. But it's got to be go for broke, but you got to understand, you got to be smart about it.
Go back a little bit to what you were saying about fighting tall. You know, at 6'1", he's got 5-inch advantage over Marsalek. Is it a matter of just standing up straight, or expand on that a little bit more?
No, definitely not standing up straight, because you can get hit with clean shots when you stand up straight. You really have to focus on keeping your opponent outside of your reach. You know, when you have a height and reach advantage, you're able to hit them before they can hit you. So keeping them outside that range, that critical distance point, is extremely important for a tall fighter to learn how to do early on.
Kelvin Davis doesn't lack for confidence. He says, I can see myself in a world title fight on TV someday. I got no doubt. You know, coming from the same town, Norfolk, Virginia, as Sweet Pea Whitaker, well, he was able to do it. He set the path. Now somebody else has to follow on it too. So Davis certainly feels like he's got the sky's the limit as his talent.
Good shots from Marsalek here. He's done well in the middle portion of this fourth round, landing some shots on the inside. You saw a nice right uppercut to the chin there that got the attention of Davis.
Big roundhouse left from Marsalek, just not able to find the mark. That's really been the hallmark of this bout. Marsalek, he's been using extensive effort to try to find a way to get in. Oh, and there is a contact that he was looking for. Jan Marsalek rings the bell of Kelvin Davis. And just as everybody was assuming it was done and dusted for Davis, Marsalek makes a whole lot of noise.
What an unexpected turn of events there. Davis still looks hurt. Looking on wobbly legs here.
And he's just trying to ride this out. He's hoping the last second skip past as Marsalek has a moment, and that's it. Done. Boy, wow. There was some bruising and damage done by the Czech.
Talk about saved by the bell.
Truly. Wow. What an unforeseeable shot that came in. Certainly Kelvin Davis didn't see it coming.
No, not myself either. But I was saying before that, you know, Marsalek was getting in there, starting to land some shots, got the attention of Davis. But, man, what a shocker. Overhand right puts down Kelvin Davis in his second fight.
Now talk a little bit about the mindset for Davis. I mean, Marsalek did well to represent himself, but seemed overmatched, and ultimately the fight will go Davis' way. But being tagged like that, so close to when you thought this fight was over, what's that going to do? A lingering effect?
It's going to mean he's got to go back to the drawing board and keep working on his technique, work on staying long, and get his timing a little bit better. Because right there, he went to throw an uppercut, his chin was on the line, Marsalek had the overhand right coming in, and boom, we see the effect right there.
So we will await the word from David Diamante as the judges now start to confer and talk things over. It seems like a foregone conclusion the way the first 3.5 rounds went, but boy, did Jan Marsalek make some noise and really touch Davis deeply with some power that sent him to the canvas just to say, listen, you might take this, but you'll remember what happened here. Not forget Marsalek, the former MMA fighter, representing well at the conclusion. But will it be enough as the judges' cards will be brought into the ring and handed to David Diamante? Marsalek already into the center ring with Ruben Perez. It's going to be Davis who just needs to compose himself. Boy, did he look wobbly as he waited for that bell to ring, and finally the savior ting ting came to fruition. And now Davis will get those gloves off and find out exactly what the ultimate decision has been from the judges. The first of 2 members of the DB3, hoping that he improves now to 2-0 as a professional. Fans starting to stream in, as we mentioned, expecting 70,000 plus to be here in AT&T Stadium, formerly known as Cowboy Stadium, where the NFL franchise Dallas Cowboys, they do their battle on the gridiron. Those gladiators, their pads and helmets. This is all exposed boxing. This is fighting at its finest. Toe to toe, eye to eye. mano a mano. And no disappointment in the opening 4 rounds for us on our Before the Bell coverage from Arlington, Texas. Next up, we'll see something of a turf war of sorts. A Texan versus a fighter from Mexico, as Xavier Wilson will step into the ring. Hails from San Antonio, Texas, as he takes on Mexico's Christian Alan Gomez Duran. Time to hear from David Diamante and the judge's decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 4 rounds of boxing here in Arlington, Texas, we go to the judges' score totals. All 3 judges scored this bout identically, 38-37 for your winner by unanimous decision. He's still undefeated, Kelvin Night Davis.
All right, we'll get into some Billy Joe Saunders in a minute, but first I want to touch on Kelvin Davis. Chris, I was getting some vibes of Paul Williams as he was fighting. He has that long, rangy style, but he kind of made mistakes like Paul with that long uppercut in his hand down, and he dodged the bullet there, but he improves to 2-0. He gives Marcelic his 3rd loss. What did you like and what did you not like about Kelvin's performance?
You mentioned Paul Williams. I like the fact that he fought tall. I love seeing a young fighter who has height using his height. I think he did that really well for the first 3.5 rounds. Toward the 4th round, though, he got a little overextended himself a little bit, and the surging Marcelac was able to catch him with the overhand right, put him down. I mean, lesson learned. He's got to go back to the drawing board, use that reach, use that timing a little bit better, and maybe work on his conditioning so he stays sharp throughout.
Where does he go from here? Because I spoke to him a couple of days ago, and he said, you know what, the first opponent he had really wasn't a test for him. He wanted to step it up. He got what he asked for. But what does he go from here? Back to the drawing board? Go back lower competition? Or, all right, I'm ready to step it back up again?
You know, I don't think so. He got caught. He survived. He won the fight anyway. It's a learning experience. But now he has to go back to the gym and focus on staying long, using his better defense, and having that ability to see those punches coming and reacting properly.
Yeah, but could he be discouraged? I mean, this early in your career, being dropped like that, sometimes it can change a fighter's mindset. It can help you or can discourage you. I mean, what do you think he's going to get from this?
Well, we will see that, whether he's a great fighter or not. All the greatest fighters have been dropped. You know, throughout history, guys come back, whether in the fight or in their career, and now Kelvin Davis has that opportunity to rise from the ashes like the Phoenix and become a great fighter.
But then he proved something to us already. He got up, and he kept fighting.
Yes,
20
absolutely.
seconds left.
Yeah, I mean, he was saved by the bell, but he got up. He looked weak, but he did what he needed to do to stay within the fight.
All right, coming up later, the Billy Joe Saunders, big fight, man. He's a guy, a Briton, that he doesn't care about Canelo's reputation about how great he is. He's the #1 in the world. Billy's ready for this dream fight. All right.
The composure and confidence of a street fighter.
2-weight world champion.
Undefeated.
A southpaw, really skilled, knows how to stick and move.
Saunders is the matador.
He's a matador. He uses his feet, his upper body to get his opponents to make mistakes. He's a hell of a fighter.
Oh, what an uppercut!
He's been described as slick, and he is that, but he's also just pesky.
You know, Billy Joe Saunders, he's good fun, and you never know what's going to happen.
He'll fight you anywhere, anytime, and he can frustrate the hell out of you.
He's not afraid of anybody. He's fearless.
As us gypsies say, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over.
All right. So, listen, Froch, and welcome in Carl Froch, obviously a former super middleweight champion. Carl, a lot of people talking about Billy Joe's resume, and he only has about 2 credible opponents. A lot of people mention Andy Lee and obviously David Lemieux, but you got guys like Eubank, and I mentioned earlier in the back, Willie Monroe Jr. is a very slick fighter, just almost as slick as him. He has some great wins, so his resume is a little bit better than people are giving him credit for.
Yeah, the Chris Eubank Jr. win, that got better with age, but that was early on in his career. Still a great win, but the Lemieux win, it was impressive in that one. It was making him miss, doing a bit of showboating. It was in control, it was comfortable, but if you're going to compare resumes with Canelo, then it's chalk and cheese, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, which Billy Joe you think is better, the Billy Joe at 160 or the Billy Joe at 168?
That's a good question because, 168 is a fully fledged, strong super middleweight, and I don't look at Billy Joe as a full super middleweight, although he is grown into the division, so it's a tough one, but I still need to see him grow at 168, but he's straight in the lines down here with Canelo. So
I mean, he's really like a heavyweight sometimes, in between fights. No, but is it the height or is it his size? What is it why you don't see him as a super middleweight?
It's not always the height because I stood next to Canelo yesterday and he's 5'8", and Callum Smith, who I had hard sparring with, he's 6'2". So Canelo really just throws that rule into the bin. So does Mike Tyson. He wasn't a really tall heavyweight, but he was a monster.
But it's funny that Canelo is such a small guy, right? And you don't hear that often, people saying he's small for 168. He's that good, right? That people don't realize that this guy could probably be a welterweight with his height, and still he's dominant at 168. Is that a testament to how great he is, Chris?
Absolutely. It's a testament to, one, his jab. He's got a great jab for a shorter guy. He's not a tall guy, he doesn't have a long reach, but his timing on his jab, his speed of his jab is phenomenal. His rhythm, his combination punching. I mean, he may not be big for the weight class, but he's damn good.
Hey, listen, Carl, Billy Joe is a traveler, and sometimes he says that he doesn't get a lot of respect because of that or good treatment, but he's here in America and he's fighting the pound-for-pound king. Are they backing him?
Yeah, he's definitely getting backed. People in Britain, they like to get behind their man, and obviously Canelo's got a massive fan base, and people in Britain, even the non-boxing fan, are starting to realise who Canelo is. He's starting to cross over when I'm talking to people, but Billy Joe's got the backing. He's got the love of the fans. Don't worry about that. He can sometimes say and do the wrong things, and he can be a little bit stupid at times. But I think he's clearing that up now, and he's got a chance to really prove himself.
So I'll come right back to you, Carl. You've been in there in front of 80,000 people, right? Billy Joe's been in some big fights.
80,000.
That's a big number.
This is a huge night. The lights, the people. What is Billy Joe Saunders going through right now mentally?
Listen, he's got to concentrate and relax and focus on his game plan and just make sure he doesn't get carried away with the crowd. Well, I like the crowd because when the crowd's this big, it can take you to that next level. Sometimes when you're feeling a bit down and a bit slow or cold in the changing rooms and you're nervous, I used to be quite a nervous fighter. When you do the ring walk and you hear that crowd and you feel the energy from the crowd, it really does take to that next level. It's kind of impossible to put in a flat performance with this kind of a crowd.
Wow, all right, let's get back to the action, to our next bout. Let's go over to David Diamante.
Ladies and gentlemen, from AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, USA, live on Dazn, we are set to go with a special 8-round welterweight attraction. And now, set to make his ring walk from San Antonio, Texas, Xavier Wilson.
Some of the home state support here in the Lone Star State, Chris. It's an interesting get-up and an interesting way to make the approach, but once he gets in the ring, he is all business.
Yeah, I ran into Xavier several times at the host hotel this week, him and his coach. Super nice kid, told me a little bit of his background, is very into like martial arts and has been training and teaching for over a decade now. As you can see from the mask there, that's part of his shtick.
Yeah, an 11-2 record with one draw, one knockout to his credit at 29 years of age. He's hoping that this Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland-born fighter is going to get the Texas crowd behind him throughout as he takes on Mexico's Christian Alan Gomez Duran. Wilson dropped an 8-round decision in his last fight back in July of last year.
And now, set to make his ring walk, de Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, Cristian Alan Gomez Duran.
Well, there is a theme of sorts among some of the fighters here. Jalisco, Mexico, and in particular Guadalajara is the hometown of two of the fighters that are on this main stage here in AT&T Stadium. One of them, it'll be the final match of the day. You've heard of him. He goes by the name Canelo. But the other is this young man who goes by the fighting name Christian Gomez, but as you heard on his birth certificate, Cristian Alan Gomez Duran. And here he is, the 27-year-old. Making his way to the ring and hoping that he can continue to extend what has been a very impressive start already. Chris, with 19 wins to his credit, 17 by KO.
I've watched some tape. Not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot out there on Gomez. He's a traditional seek and destroy Mexican fighter with a big pop, big punch. Like you said, 17 knockouts and 19 wins. You know, that's a great KO ratio, and you know he's going to go out there and look for a KO tonight.
Certainly is. Goes by the nickname Niñote, which means big boy. Certainly not overwhelming size, but he likes to think of himself as a guy who can fight bigger than his actual stature is.
Hey, I like that. Whatever your mindset is, what you see yourself in your own mind, what your perception is, that's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, from AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, USA, we are set to go live on Dazn with a special 8-round welterweight affair. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We are sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, Air Force Reserve, Tecate, Bet Online, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Orange Crush, and Valueway. Our three judges scoring this contest from ringside: Robert Chapa, Don Griffin, and Anthony Moss. And at the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring, referee Rosario Solis. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 8 rounds of boxing scheduled in the welterweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, standing with his head trainer, Louis Gibbs. He wears the gold and black trim. He scaled 147.8 pounds. His professional record, 11 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 1 win coming by way of knockout. Fighting out of San Antonio, Texas, please welcome Xavier Miller. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands with his head trainer, Zamir Lozano. He wears the red with gold trim. He scaled 146.4 pounds. His professional record, 19 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 17 big wins coming by way of knockout. Presentando de Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, Cristian Alan Gomez Duran.
This is good. I give you the special to the dressing room. Protect yourself at all times. Protect your tiempo. Please fight. Touch him up. Toca los guantes.
And already for Wilson, something to fight for, looking for a little bit of respect. Got called Miller by accident in the introduction there. And he's saying, hold on a second, I've won 11 out of 13 fights. Come on, give me the respect due. We'll see if he uses that as motivation. Rosario Solis in the midst of this welterweight battle, scheduled for 8 rounds. Their gloves are up, they punched in, and we're underway in the opening round.
I had the time to watch a little bit of Xavier Wilson past fights. You know, he's a talented little guy. He's got some mettle. You know, he's going to look to bring it tonight against Gomez, the power punching Gomez.
Yeah, Gomez has been on a nice little run of late. He lost to Echeverria a few months back, considerable time now, but in that time since, this is now his 4th fight, and he's won the last 3. He's coming in with a lot of confidence, and obviously he really packs the punch that's necessary. If you've got 17 knockouts amongst your 19 wins, you know you got to be watching for that shot.
That being said, Wilson has never been stopped in his 2 losses. Not much of a power puncher himself, with only one KO in his 11 wins.
29-year-old Wilson, born in the Charm City, Baltimore, Maryland. Now makes his home here in Texas, in San Antonio, just a couple hours drive south of Dallas towards the west. But fancies himself Professor X. Very big comic book fan. Loves Marvel in particular. And he looks at Professor X, you know, the leader of the X-Men. I know, Chris, you're a big follower of all of that. But he says, you know, Professor X himself can read, control the minds of others. He likes to control his bouts. He likes to get in there and start to assert his power.
Well, that would be an interesting power to have in a boxing ring, being able to control your opponent's mind. Let's see if Wilson can do that with the very tough Christian Gomez.
Yeah, if he can't control the actions of Gomez Dazn by telepathy, he's certainly going to try to do it with his fists, as they're finding themselves just that little feeling out period of just trying to get a range, get a feel. There you see an ignote on the waistband of Gomez. A big boy with the big hands and the big fists.
You know, Gomez hasn't thrown a whole lot of power shots yet, but I've seen the jab. Looks very hard so far. He's landed a few of them. Actually landed a nice right uppercut on the inside there. Hit right in the chin of Wilson.
Second consecutive fight already amongst our Before the Bell card that has a fighter, in the case of Wilson here, with some mixed martial arts background. He was a big fan and has been practicing since the age of 4. With his skill set and what we're looking for today, anything in particular you'll look for him to make a transition from sort of that discipline to his boxing style?
I mean, he looks like a boxer to me right now. You know, he's doing a good job of keeping the pace slow with the power puncher, using his jab, using his length. He does have a long reach and long arms. Using that jab. Been a little bit short with the right hand thus far, but has been looking to throw it. You know, these guys fighting an 8-rounder, you can tell the pace a little different than a 4-rounder. Both men still feeling each other out in round number 1.
Yeah, you're right about that. As the final seconds tick in this opening round between the two. Yeah, they know they've got some time scheduled between them. There's no need to rush out of the gates and expend too much energy. The tail of the tape has Wilson at 2 years older, at 29. He's got an extra 1.5 inches on the reach, or excuse me, the height, and 5 inches on the reach, something that Gomez will have to be wary of. We talked about that in the previous fight when Kelvin Davis was able to improve to 2-0, and being able to use that extensive reach to give some distance and find the power.
Yeah, reach is one of those attributes that you really can't change. You're not gonna get longer and taller as you get older, so you might as well take advantage of it. There we see that hard jab that I was talking about from Gomez. He didn't do a whole lot in round number 1, but he did land a nice hard jab a few times. There you see the overhand right attempt from the longer Xavier Wilson.
Yeah, economical in the punches thrown and finding their mark, but that is sort of a marker that has been left by Gomez now for Wilson to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he let Wilson feel the power, kept him cautious, kept him on the end of his shots, didn't let him get too out of hand. So we'll see how this fight progresses from here.
Bit of a turf warfare as far as proximity, a little Tex-Mex action as San Antonio's Wilson from here in Texas taking on Guadalajara, Mexico's Gomez. Round 2 underway.
From the little exchanges that they have had on the inside, it looks to me that Wilson would be better served to stay on the outside the way he has been. Pump that jab, look for that overhand right. Because Gomez does seem to be the stronger of the two and feels more comfortable on the inside, it looks like.
We talked about Wilson preferring the moniker Professor X, but he also goes by the Monkey King, and there's a longer story that we'll get into as this fight unfolds as to why. But you were talking about that right overhand. He has a specialized shot that he's nicknamed the Monkey Slap. That is an extended sort of almost throwing way over the top to come down. We'll be interested to see if he tries to employ that against Gomez today.
Gomez just timed a nice overhand right of his own that landed flush on the side of the head of Wilson, and then followed by a right uppercut that landed as well.
Almost a right hand overhead that's exaggerated a bit, the aforementioned Monkey Slap. Gomez with a swing and a miss. That right hand finding nothing but air.
Ooh, there's that uppercut again. Caught Wilson as he was dipping down in front. If you're the taller, longer man, you do not want to be over your front foot that way. You don't want to dip forward, especially with an uppercutting Mexican like Gomez.
Tough to recover your balance, but also exposes you to the strength of Gomez.
You're also meeting it. You're meeting that uppercut head on. You got a guy who's got a good hard uppercut. You don't want to go head first into that. use your reach, use your length, stay long.
Yeah, we've seen Wilson sort of do that bow, sort of get down a little bit too low and expose himself just a bit already through these 2 rounds. Gomez has taken notice of it as well.
Indicative of many Mexican fighters. Very calm, very relaxed, putting body pressure, coming forward, looking to land hard shots once he gets within range.
Oh, right through. Wilson tagged right on the crown of the nose, and he is stunned. He's having trouble finding his bearings. He's popped up.
He did not see that punch.
He did not see it. Certainly didn't see it coming, but he felt it.
Oh,
and that's it.
That's it.
No mas. As Wilson, he can't believe it. He cannot believe Rosario Solis has come in and stopped the fight here in the 2nd round. But he was tagged mightily, and boy, did he look wobbly getting up. But now he is just beside himself, cannot believe a decision has been handed to Gomez.
I couldn't really see his legs. You know, you have to trust the referee and their discretion. Maybe he saw some kind of off balance or something in the eyes, like you just alluded to. So that potentially could have been the issue. I would have liked to have seen it gone on a little longer, but
I have to believe that it was the latter of the two, because he did look wobbly. His legs were tough to get up, but he did get up. But Solis came right over, and here's a replay on the quick power, just that left hand catching the cheek and really delivering that head snap that deposited Wilson on the ground. But Solis came over and gave a deliberate look into his eyes, and I think he saw a little bit of vacancy.
Yeah, that could have been it. You always got to trust the discretion of the referee. They are closer to the action than we are. But we saw the replay of that beautiful left hook counter over the top of the right hand of Xavier Wilson. That's one thing about a longer guy. He's got a 5-inch reach advantage. That means he has 5 more inches to pull that hand back to a defensive position. He wasn't able to do that. Gomez came over the top, clipped him with that left hook right in the temple, and that's all she wrote.
Well, we know that Wilson prides himself on his self-described monkey slap punch, which he was never able to pull out of his holster because it was Gomez who just unleashed a furious left hand that found bullseye. And Xavier Wilson is no longer present and accounted for in this fight. And how about Christian Alan Gomez Duran? We talked about the fact that 8 rounds scheduled, taking their time to kind of get into it. It was the Mexican who waited, and out of nowhere, seemingly, just threw that haymaker.
Yeah, I think he saw a chink in the armor there from Wilson, who was bringing that right hand back a little bit slow, a little bit low, and caught him.
So we will await the word that will crown Gomez Duran to be able to do his thing, and boy, did he shine bright. Quick work. Business was fast, and business was good for the native of Guadalajara, Mexico. Let's get down to the ring announcer for the final word.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Rosario Solis calls a halt to this contest. The official time of the stoppage, 2 minutes and 19 seconds of round number 2. Your winner by TKO de Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, Christian Alan Gomez Duran.
About a good day at the office. It was all business from Gomez Duran, and I'll tell you what, business was good. 5 minutes and 19 seconds, all he needed to pick up his 18th knockout amongst his 20 victories. And that'll do it for fight number 2 on Before the Bell.
Welcome to Dazn.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special.
At home or on the move, we connect fans to the heart of sport on any device. Easily browse the Dazn schedule to see upcoming fights or catch up on recent events. Never miss a punch by setting reminders that alert you on your mobile device.
Can Ryan Garcia continue his rapid ascent?
Navigate Fight Night with key moments. Replay the rounds or action you want to see again and again. Watch over 30 years of archive fights, award-winning documentary film, and the exclusive Dazn boxing show, bringing you all the latest news and interviews with boxing's biggest names every weekday.
They'll all be thrown in the deep end in 2021.
The best innovations, the biggest stars, the greatest fights. only on Dazn.
Well, Chris, you know, with a name like Duran and having that type of knockout power, sounds like, you know, he's on the right track. Even though with 2 losses, like when you have that type of punching power, moves to 20-0, 18 knockouts, people want to see you fight. So they don't even look at, the 2 losses. So I think he has a bright future, hell of a right hand.
I do too, and I think it's not just the punching power, it was how methodical he was to get that shot and land it. He saw an opening, he saw Wilson bringing the hand back a little bit low, counter with the left hook right over the top. Wilson never saw it coming, couldn't recover.
Well, he got 22 fights experience now. Is he ready for like a Josh Kelly or somebody?
I believe so. I think that would be a great matchup. He has the power. He looks like a seasoned pro in there at this point. Why not step it up?
Right, but when you have that, power like that, even if you're not seasoned, there's always that curiosity. Can this guy hurt a guy like Josh Kelly or a guy like Ramirez? Power takes you a long way in this sport.
Absolutely, absolutely. I didn't see much of a jab from him. He used it a little bit in the first couple rounds, but he was able to time that shot perfectly. So, what's the old saying? A right hand will take you around the block, a jab will take you around the world. Absolutely. So we saw the jab, we saw the left hook, we saw the right hand. All right,
well, let's take our attention back to the main event. It's going to be in front of a packed house later on. Ring walk's expected to be around 11 p.m. Eastern time. Canelo Alvarez, a superstar that he is, man, headlining another great show. He has been unstoppable since that loss to Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Money Mayweather.
I think sometimes a defeat can go one or 2 ways. Firstly, it can break you, and secondly, it can make you.
Creo que esa vez aprendió mucho, aprendió a saber lo que se siente perder una pelea. Entonces, a partir de ahí creo que ha sido lo mejor que le ha pasado esa derrota con Mayweather.
You have to wake up and you have to realize how much you want it, how much it hurts. And you've got to remember that feeling inside to use it to drive you to get better, to improve, to keep trying to create legacy.
Canelo could have given up or said, I'm going to train harder and come back, and that's what he did. You have to be focused, you have to be ready, and you have to be hungry again.
Now I can barely focus. I'm showing no emotion. On your knees, show your devotion. I'm not here for bragging, boasting.
All right, so we're joined here with the face of Dazn and the face of Matchroom.
Chris Mannix.
Guys, Chris Mannix.
Wait, are you guys friends now? Is everything okay?
We go back and forth. Yeah.
Listen, Canelo Alvarez, look, he hasn't lost since Floyd Mayweather. And not only has he lost, he's dominated since then. And these lights and this big stadium, he's used to it. How much will it affect Billy Joe Saunders, and how comfortable is Canelo Alvarez right now?
Well, I think the answer to that is you never know till it happens. Billy Joe's not boxed in this kind of environment before, probably boxed in front of 10,000, maybe his biggest crowd, but he's the kind of guy that he wants this. He would rather this was full up with people than empty. So I've seen him today on social media jumping up and down, super hyped. You've got Tyson Fury, Ben Davison's flown in as well to be in the corner, Mark Tibbs. They're a very vibrant group, and they're up for this. But it's just going to be one of those moments where you just don't know till he makes that walk, until he gets in the ring. Number one, if he can deal with the environment and the atmosphere. Number two, if he can fight to the levels of Canelo Alvarez. Because back home in the UK, for a long time, people have believed that Billy Joe Saunders has everything. But until you fight at that kind of level, you just don't know. So he needs to be well beyond anywhere he's ever been before. But we do believe that he has those levels in him. Can you do it on the biggest of stages at that precise moment? That's when the special fighters come out.
Right, well, you're promoting both of these guys, but you're in a tough spot because no matter who wins, you have to look. I don't know if you get to jump up and down.
I hate it. On a serious note, what are the odds Billy Joe fires you if he loses? No, we still got fights under contract, Chris. Don't worry about that. Okay, all right. I said to Billy Joe, I said, look, this is my last fight with Canelo. I said, you've got multi-fights with me. So, but I really hate promoting both guys because I love to have my heart on my chest. I love to jump in the ring and celebrate, and genuinely, whoever loses tonight, I'm going to be gutted for them. So it's hard to celebrate, but ultimately the guys asked me to do a job, I did it, and they get to do it on the biggest stage of all. It's just amazing to be in here. You know, if we would have pulled this off 2 years ago, it would have been sensational. But off the back of the pandemic, I feel like this is such a big night for boxing because the world's watching. You know, it's the biggest crowd in the US post-pandemic. We're actually going to have about 72, 73,000 here. It could be the biggest crowd in the world post-pandemic. And the eyes of the world will be on this event tonight.
Chris, you're not the biggest fan of Billy Joe Saunders' resume. And, I mean, look, in reality, would you be super shocked if Billy Joe pulls an upset off against Canelo Alvarez?
I would be very surprised. Couple things. I think resume matters. I think iron sharpens iron. And Billy Joe's had some quality wins. He beat Andy Lee, knocked him down twice in that fight. He beat David Lemieux in a near shutout. But other than that, where are the quality wins on his resume? At 168, where are the quality wins? Now, surprising things can happen. He's tried to get big fights in the past. It didn't work out with Gennady Golovkin. He was scheduled to face Canelo last year before all this happened. So it's not like he's avoiding the big fights. Canelo's resume is just that much stronger. And maybe more importantly, Billy Joe Saunders is one of the best jabbers in boxing. He is very slick, throws that jab extremely well. I have yet to see an opponent beat Canelo by out-jabbing him. I just don't think it can be done. Kovalev tried to do it. It didn't work. Go back further. Arislani Lara tried to do it. It didn't work. Gennady Golovkin, who has one of the best power jabs in all of boxing, he tried to do it. Officially, it didn't work. So Billy Joe Saunders, I think, is going to have to show me something different for him to get a win tonight.
That kind of shows us how special Floyd is, I guess. But now we got a new king. This is a different Canelo Alvarez.
That's a long time ago, though.
Long time.
This is a different. That's what I'm saying. This is a different Canelo Alvarez. Absolutely.
I think that Chris made a good point, but I think people are also underestimating the technical ability and the trunk movement of Canelo Alvarez. Like, people are talking about this fight like it's the boxer against the puncher. You know, and when we had that conversation about the ring earlier in the week, I kind of got the feeling Canelo wanted to give him that to kind of show him that I can box too. You know, I don't mind a big ring.
Yeah.
I don't need an 18-foot ring. You know, I can move. You know, we've seen his movements. We've seen the clips against Danny Jacobs and all these guys.
No, you said
they're both incredibly skilled.
No, you said you know, he had no issues at all with the ring. People keep referring to Lara and Trout, right? I mean, how many years ago that is? How better is Canelo Alvarez than that time, Chris?
Oh, he's massively better. His defense has improved by leaps and bounds. His timing has improved by leaps and bounds.
Power.
I mean, power, of course, but like his ability to cut off the ring. Like back in those days, when Lara was moving as much as he was, I was at that fight. Canelo wasn't so much cutting up the ring, but following him around. And people in boxing know there's a difference to that. I actually talked to Austin Trout this morning, and I was asking him, like, how does Billy Joe Saunders win this fight? He said, look, I thought I was successful early in my fight by going in and out, timing Canelo on the way in. The problem is, and he thought Billy Joe Saunders could do it, the problem is it's hard to do for 12 rounds. In his words, Canelo is relentless. So I think Billy Joe Saunders is going to have moments of success, but you have to have 12 rounds of success to beat Canelo Alvarez.
I was talking to Dave Caldwell last night.
It's not a competition of who we talk to today.
I do that a lot. People say that.
You need a bigger name, though.
And I was talking to AJ and Fury. I was talking to Dave Caldwell last night, and he said, like what happens in these fights is kind of like the mental pressure and the emotional pressure that they use with their feet and by cutting off the ring. He said he goes back to fights like Lomachenko against Campbell and Bellew against Usyk, you know, who are 2 pound-for-pound quality fighters. And for 6 rounds, everyone was going, you know, they could do this, and then they just adjusted, and they kind of wore the energy out of not just as much Campbell, but Bellew. You know, Usyk's feet and his movement and his ability to cut him off was draining Bellew. And Billy Joe is in tremendous shape for this fight. You know, his strength and conditioning guy today was saying he thinks he can go 15 rounds at David Lemieux pace, no problem at all. But it's different in there. And what Billy Joe's going to do, speaking to Ben Davison, is I think that he's going to, you know, we know that it's a bigger ring. He ain't going to want to go anywhere near those ropes. Right. He'll actually be using probably 12 foot of that ring on the inside. You won't see him backing up in straight lines and going back onto the ropes. He'll be moving around the inner area of the ring. But that's going to be dangerous as well, because as soon as Canelo lands, he goes back on the ropes. And the danger in this fight, I think, is that you see the big shot land. You know, the Amir Khan shot, the James Kirkland shot, because Billy's difficult to hit. But, you know, Canelo's going to be letting him fire when he's in range. And, of course, we know he wants to win this fight by knockout.
Well, I spoke to Canelo Alvarez earlier this week,
Oh,
right?
did you now?
Yes, and here's the thing that impresses me. He tells me he goes into the gym not to lose weight, not to get a workout in, to learn boxing. So meaning he wants to get even better every single training camp. How scary is that? We might see something new from Canelo Alvarez tonight.
Look, we do see new things from Canelo. The first fight with Gennady Golovkin, he was moving. The second fight, he took it to Gennady Golovkin. Against Avni Yildirim in his last fight, I was sitting there with Ryan Garcia, and when Canelo landed that 1-2 straight up the middle, Ryan said, I've never seen Canelo throw that combination. Even in training camp, I've never seen him throw that combination. So it's just as likely we see something new from Canelo in there that we do from Billy Joe Saunders.
Well, we've been saying all week, face the fearless. And Billy Joe says, you know, he's never scared of anything. He's not worried to think about anything about Canelo Alvarez. But the ring situation, does that hurt that, Eddie?
No, I mean, I think the ring situation was Billy Joe felt that the world was against him here, and he wanted to stand firm. He asked for a 24-foot inside the ropes, which I've never actually seen before. And 20-by-20 was originally agreed this week, and he wanted to push it to 22, and he wanted me to book his flights home. So, you know, in the end, it was a horrible conversation to have with a pound-for-pound number one, where this guy is saying he's going, and he went, it's no problem at all. And I was like, really? He said, no. You know, so I think, like I said earlier, I think he wants to show that he can box with Billy Joe Saunders. He's not just going to go in there and be careless. He wants to show him movement. You know, he wants to show him feints. He wants to spin off around the outside and throw shots from angles. Yeah. But, you know, Billy Joe has got the edge. I believe in that department because he's super slick. Super slick. And I'll tell you, for the first 2 or 3 rounds, he will be razor sharp. I wouldn't be surprised. Remember the Amir Khan fight with Canelo Alvarez?
Yes.
What, 3-4 rounds up? Amir won most of those early rounds. You know, and he just took his time, wait for the moment. And that's why I said, I think if Canelo's going to win by stoppage tonight, I think it will be via that one spectacular knockout punch, because I think it's going to be difficult for him to lay hands on Billy Joe Saunders.
And
wait, first, who did you speak to first before you say this?
I don't know, but I'm going to FaceTime Gennady after this. That's for sure.
Okay.
There are very few fighters in the world that feel invincible. Even AJ, I don't think AJ feels invincible in the ring. I believe that Canelo feels invincible in the ring. We'll have a guy on the broadcast later that knows what that feels like. Roy Jones, for like 7-8 years, was invincible. And I was asking him about this the other day. I'm like, what did that feel like? He's like, they're not faster than me, they're not stronger than me, and they can't touch me. Only a handful of fighters in this generation have felt that. Floyd Mayweather was one, and Canelo was another.
But then does that make you overlook someone?
Maybe, but
just trying to do a few more minutes.
well, listen, let's take a break from the superstars and the pound-for-pound king, and let's talk about the young, upcoming prospect in Keyshawn Davis. Look, very impressive. I know he only has 2 wins, but I've seen a lot of tapes of him in the amateur fights. I was impressed with the 2 knockouts. His brother just got away with one earlier today. I mean, how excited are you, about Keyshawn Davis? I know he's not officially a matchroom guy, but he's fighting on matchroom day.
Yeah, he's a fantastic talent. I mean, his shot selection, his balance, his confidence, his timing, the way he's just very calm in the ring. He's actually got a good fight tonight. This guy's coming, Mexican support, he looks extremely fit, and this is his big opportunity. His brother got a bit lucky earlier on tonight. It was a thrilling finish. Keyshawn, appears to be a different level to his brother, who looks a little bit more raw. But this kid looks so well schooled. There's that nice rivalry building up with Mark Castro, who keeps reminding me that Castro's 3-0.
Yeah,
it's not a rivalry. I like that. But I really rate Keyshawn Davis. I really do. And I think this is a good fight because this kid's coming here in this environment saying, wow, I'm going to change my life tonight. But Keyshawn, watch the patience, watch the shot selection, watch the calmness, the poise. This kid's special.
Well, can I put you on the spot? Are you going to throw the bag at Keyshawn? Because that's all he kept, the bag.
I think he's smart enough to know where to come.
Yeah.
And I'm letting him do his thing. I like what he's doing. He went and boxed on ESPN in Dubai recently. He should go and see what's around. The danger with that is you don't get the firepower behind you because you're not officially signed. So while we're pushing Keyshawn, we're not going to come out with a megaphone yet till the ink is dry. But, I think that this kid's whenever you back a young fighter, you need to look at the pedigree, and you look at Keyshawn Davis and you say, there's a pretty good chance this kid's going to go and fight for the world title.
We'll make a pretty good offer. But Chris, look, you've done Olympics, you've watched prospects. How much potential does Keyshawn have as a superstar?
I think he's got great potential. I watched him a lot as an amateur. That doesn't always mean you're going to turn into a great pro, but all the things Eddie said, I agree with. I also think he's got a flair to him, like a sense of the dramatic. He wants to put on a show, which I think is important when you get to the pro ranks. One thing I like about what Eddie's doing, you can tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but you're throwing prospect into the deep end a little bit quicker than maybe you used to. Like you're trying to see who can fight, who can't early on, not necessarily letting guys get to 20-0, 25-0. But even tonight, like Kieran Conway is still a prospect type guy going up against his toughest opponent to date. So that's one way of kind of weeding out who is a real guy.
I just feel that if you get to 18 or 20-0 without being in some kind of competitive fights, you're going to come unstuck down there. So you may as well learn. You're not looking to get beat at this level, but quite frankly, if you get beat at this level, you're not the prospect we thought you were anyway. Right. And you shouldn't be. Keyshawn should not be losing tonight. Right. And if he does, then there's a reason for that. Might not be good enough. His preparation might be good, but you need to find out along the way the flaws before you go in the deep end and drown.
Well, speaking of Keyshawn, let's go to David Diamante because he's about to get it on.
Ladies and gentlemen, from AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, USA, live on Dazn, we are set to go with our next contest, 6 rounds in the lightweight division. And now, set to make his ring walk, de Gomez Palacio, Durango, Mexico, Jose Antonio Meza.
Going on? I mean, it's like, why am I even here?
Motion for the fans that are here to see Canelo and an additional 3 Mexican fighters amongst the 8 total fights on the day. So as he makes his way to the ring, a chance to bring in, Barak, Mannix, Hearn were fighting and trying to one-up each other and who they've spoken to. I get to speak with Chris Algieri. Chris, welcome back to the booth.
Well, good to be here. It was good to be next to you. Talking about this next fighter coming up. Very, very exciting fight we got lined up.
Yeah, the 24-year-old, as he makes his way in, does have a height and reach advantage against Keyshawn Davis. He's also hoping that he can sort of emulate what fellow Mexican Christian Alan Gomez Duran was able to do in the previous round and sort of sneak his way in. Just bide his time early, 6 rounds to fight with. Can he find a little bit of vulnerability against the American he'll face today?
And now, set to make his ring walk, from Norfolk, Virginia, the undefeated Keyshawn, the businessman Davis.
When they've had standout careers as amateurs, there are always the questions. How will they make the next transition to the professional level? When will they find their time? When will they ascend? Well, for Keyshawn Davis, he says the time is now. Businessman, yes. Not only is it a good mantle for him, but he's already shown in his now 3rd fight in 70 days, his opening 2 bouts, he was all business, and business was very good. Chris Algieri, this kid showed us a ton as an amateur. Now he wants to make everybody sit up and take notice. I'm here to fight, I'm going to do it often, and I'm going to win more often than not. So far, unblemished.
This kid right here is one of the prospects that I am most excited for. I got to call his pro debut. He looked like a true professional in his opening bout. I'm very excited to see how he progresses, what he's able to do with a tall task, figuratively and literally, in front of him tonight in Jose Antonio Meza.
Well, there's another side to him. Yes, he's all business in the ring, but he doesn't mind providing a little entertainment. He likes to be the guy that goes in there, ups the ante on his showmanship, and he's already showing a bit of this as he takes that saunter towards the ring. But once he's in there, he likes to mix a little bit of both. I mean, he's all business, of course, but yet he knows that there's got to be some flair to attract the outliers.
Yeah, absolutely. He has a very fan-friendly style. He likes to come forward, but he uses what we call smart pressure. He's in, he's putting body pressure on his opponent, but he's able to pull out, stay long, use that good judge of range that you see at that international amateur level type guys always have.
Well, looking to stay unblemished as he fights for the third time as a pro. Let's head to the ring.
Ladies and gentlemen, from AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, USA. Live on Dazn, we are set to go to the special lightweight attraction. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We're sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, Air Force Reserve, Tecate, Bet Online, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Orange Crush, and Value. Introducing your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside: Robert Chapa, David Iokaruchi, and Anthony Moss. And at the side of the belt, your third man in the ring, referee Ruben Perez. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 6 rounds of boxing scheduled in the lightweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, standing with his head trainer, Ricardo Mijares. He wears the white with red and green trim. He scaled an even 138 pounds bang on. His professional record, 6 wins, 4 defeats. He has 1 win coming by way of knockout. Presentando de Gómez Palacio, Durango, Mexico. Damas y caballeros, José Antonio Meza. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands with his head trainer, Tyler Trask. He wears it in the navy blue and silver. This southpaw also scaled at a ready and even 138 pounds. His young professional record thus far perfect: 2 fights, 2 victories, and both of them came by way of knockout. Here is the highly skilled amateur sensation and the fast rising prospect fighting out of Norfolk, Virginia, the businessman, Keyshawn Davis.
Chance to hear from Ruben Perez, the referee.
Good, clean fight. Obey and protect yourself at all times.
The flashy lightweight that hails from Norfolk, Virginia, though now resides just 3.5 hours down the road. Keyshawn Davis taking on his opponent, Jose Antonio Meza. Our third fight of the Before the Bell card, ready to get underway. Let's see the flashy brilliance of the young American. Such a standout as an amateur. He seemed a lock for the Olympics, but said the professional ranks wait. And boy, has he been stellar, producing 2 knockout wins in as many fights. Davis, Meza, gloves up. They're punched in, and we're underway in Arlington, Texas.
Keyshawn Davis fighting a very tall, long, lightweight. In Meza, who's 5'11", 74-inch reach, you said from the top, but I wouldn't be that worried. Someone with the amateur experience, international experience like Davis has, he's definitely fought guys who are tall, guys who are long. This is nothing new for him.
Yeah, and looking at the matchup, I mean, and talking with people, hanging around the hotel, everybody, sort of looking at this saying, wow, I mean, this is a walk in the park for Davis for all intents and purposes. Meza, as we mentioned, 6-4 in his career. He doesn't also strike me, Keyshawn, as the type of fighter who mentally checks out and allows himself to look past opponents.
Again, with all that international amateur experience, I mean, he's been to the top, he's been there, he's been in high-profile fights against very talented fighters. This is nothing new to him. But that being said, every fight's a fight, which we learned when his older brother fought earlier tonight and ended up getting dropped in the 4th round.
Yeah, Kelvin Davis did improve to 2-0 in the opening fight of the night, but did get stung just in the final of 4 rounds. Had his bell rung, and that'll leave a lasting mark, but he does remain perfect, as do the Davis brothers as pros. As Keyshawn trying to make it 5-0 between the 2 brothers. And remember, there's Keon, also a 3rd Davis brother. That's part of the moniker of DB3 that they go by, the branding for the Davis brothers. So far, they have been untouched in the loss column as pros.
Davis doing a good job of making the ring small, coming forward, using his jab, not having a lot of ability to connect just yet, but using more as a rangefinder at this point, trying to establish who's going to be in control in this opening stanza. Beautiful job. Jabbing to the body, rolling out from Davis there.
Still wearing the pride of Norfolk. Used to be the Norfolk 3 before the DB3 for the Davis brothers, but it's been the move for Davis to Texas that he really feels he's established himself as the workhorse, where he's found his focus and his ability to really fine-tune what he already feels is a pretty solid skill set. Living in Houston, Texas, training there, said he had to get out of Norfolk, just had to break away, be his own man, and he's finding that now it's starting to really produce some quality skills, as if he didn't have them already.
I like to see that in young fighters, taking that sacrifice, moving away from home, getting out of your hometown, getting away from everything that's comfortable, and finding yourself someplace else.
Some of the reach of Mesa, just trying to find a way through the defense of Davis. Glancing blow at best, as Davis really been able to order. The left hand got in there quickly.
Ooh.
Mesa stunned just a bit. And Davis, here's the bell ring, and he does a little dance. What is this? Is this river dance? Davis feeling good about his opening round as Mesa stung.
A little slow in the beginning, having trouble making contact, but that's how you close a round.
Now the southpaw was able to find that way in the corner before Antonio Mesa. Ricardo Mijares saying, you got to bob and weave. You have got to not allow yourself to be a sitting target. That left hand sneaking in.
Yeah, it was a hard jab with a straight right hand over the top, too. That had Mesa in a world of trouble. Right at the end of the bell. Man, those legs were all over the place. Good hard jab, followed by the 2 right behind it.
More of a slip there, or was that wobble in the legs just to get there?
It looked like a wobble in the legs.
Yeah. I initially thought maybe he just found a little bit of an edge of the shoe and slip, but it definitely looked as if his legs wanted to come out from under him. Good job by Mesa just to maintain his composure to get through to the bell as round 2 underway.
Yeah, let's see if those legs are recovered from that knockdown. Good chopping overhand right there from Davis.
A lot of crouching from Mesa as well. He's got that big frame just sort of bent over, so he's putting a lot of additional pressure and weight. Feeling weight of the right hand of Davis. Mesa on the head again.
You see Davis, that first round, took him about 2.5 minutes to find the range. Now that he's found it, he can't miss with the right hand.
Well, we wondered if there was any sense of complacency from Davis, and already through these opening seconds of round 2 and what we saw in the first round, there is none. He is business, living up to his moniker, businessman, taking it to Mesa.
And this is what I like about Davis. He stays so calm, so controlled, such a measured pace. That's why I said even in his opening fight, he looked like a true professional. Doing a great job of closing the distance, walking the taller man down. Nice jab to the heart there. George Foreman's favorite punch from back in the day.
They're really starting to set his beads. The targets have been set there. The right hand coming through and missing Mesa, just barely able to get out of the way. But he has been the hunted, as Davis has been all over him.
A little smirk as the referee broke them up there from Davis, knowing that he's in complete control at this point. This is what I meant about smart pressure. I don't think I've seen Davis get hit with a single shot yet. Has been closing the distance on the taller man, able to land his shots and get out deftly without taking any damage whatsoever.
Yeah, just no duress for Davis. I mean, nothing in the sense of pressure for him. He's almost as a position. He's just staking there, hands just ready and poised. No defense needed because he's so elusive for Mesa.
Oh, he's having fun in there. He's got his rhythm. He's got his timing. He knows he's got it. He's had his man hurt. He's got a full 6 rounds tonight to make it happen.
Right. Davis a little frustrated by the grappling effort from Mesa.
For those at home, look at the beautiful feints from Davis. A feint is kind of like a head fake in basketball. Do a little bit of shoulder movement, little leg movement. Get your opponent to have that first reaction so you can counter.
And we were there for his debut fight. It was just the day before his 22nd birthday. Keyshawn Davis was able to come in and produce his first victory. Did it via knockout in Miami, getting the better of Lester Brown in the second round of 4 scheduled rounds.
Oh, good overhand right there from Davis. Counter perfectly timed.
His second victory coming in Dubai over Richmond Ashley in April of this year to maintain that 2-0 perfect record.
You know, I know not a lot of people were giving Mesa any credit, but I did see this as a step-up fight. You know, you've got a guy with 10 pro fights under his belt. He's never been stopped. So for Davis to look the way he's looking, and if he does get the stoppage, I think that's a statement from his point.
Yeah, as far as the preparation that comes for Keyshawn and his crew, I mean, he's got Keon, his brother, in his corner, along with Tyler Trask, his trainer, and Bobby Benton, his cut man. But the book on Davis thus far, is he a studious fighter? Does he go out and really try to get the goods on his opponents? Would he have known all about Mesa and his ability to be durable, if you will?
You know, it's hard to tell at this point. You know, I don't know if he did his homework, or if he's just that effective at figuring out the timing and the range. Like I said, when you have so much amateur experience, you've seen so many different looks at the highest level. You know, it's second nature. Where you land shots like that, counter overhand right, you know, just timed perfectly. Some of that stuff you just can't teach. You got to feel it.
Pepeo, the nickname that Jose Antonio Mesa goes by. I tried to find a translation, spoke to a lot of people who are fluent in Spanish. They said they couldn't really find one, but it had something to do with like being a kid who likes to eat, and you wonder if it is sort of a moniker that he uses to try to, you know, motivate himself. I eat up opponents left and right. Well, he's only 6-4 as a professional, so he hasn't exactly been feasting a gluttonous performance over the course of his career yet, and he's been on the short end thus far through 2 rounds against Keyshawn Davis. But here's Mesa once again. As we mentioned, his stamina is unquestioned. Never been stopped in his 10 professional fights previously against what was considered, Chris, I mean, it was, if you talked about a lock at the Olympics to be in Tokyo, Keyshawn Davis was at the forefront of that, but it just wasn't to be.
Hey, it wasn't to be, and now he's here, and he's got already the start of a breakout professional career. Like you said, if it wasn't meant to be, it is what it is, and here we are.
And no looking back. In listening to an interview just a couple of weeks ago from Keyshawn Davis, and he talked about it, he said, you know what, I just felt the time was right, and you have to listen to yourself. The intuition to know that as much as the Olympics would have been a goal for any boxer, to be able to stand out, represent your country, maybe walk away with some shiny hardware, he said, I just knew inside that my skill set would translate to the pros, and boy, so far, it's shown that he was making the right decision.
We just saw a nice 1-2 there from Keyshawn Davis. I love the way that he puts the right hand right behind the jab, really hides it. Very difficult to defend against. Mesa just strikes me as a guy who just does not know how to use his height and his reach. He's got his legs so far apart. It takes away his reach, takes away his power, and that's why Keyshawn is able to walk right in the front door, walk him down, and land those right hands.
Yeah, we're seeing a bit of a disparity already through this fight, aren't we, in boxing IQ? You're seeing Davis, who came in really with a preparation and an idea, whereas Mesa seems a reactive fighter who just doesn't quite know exactly what alterations to make.
Yeah, I think that would be an understatement. There's a difference in boxing IQ and pedigree here.
Well, he just likes to hang in, and who knows? He wants to give himself a shot, but he's got to be careful because Davis is starting to deliver some stings. And they're starting to leave some marks.
Yeah, Davis is slowing down on the output a little bit, still keeping up with that body pressure, but you can tell he's looking to land that one big shot. Good feint there again.
Let's break down some of the skill set of Keyshawn Davis and his strengths. So, we talked a lot today and looking forward to the Canelo Saunders fight about jabs and things like that. How do you rate the jab, first of all?
So far, it's been phenomenal. He's used it as a great range finder. He's been out-jabbing the taller man, out-jabbing the longer man, and he's found himself in the position to land the right hand, which is exactly what you want the jab to do.
Mesa just feeling as if the assault is non-stop, that it is just constantly a bit of bullying from Davis already through these opening rounds, and Mesa heads back to his corner, just sort of a quizzical look on his face. What do I got to do? Everything's coming quick, it's coming hard, and it's coming all from Davis through 3 rounds. What about the motivation in watching Kelvin we know the brothers are tight, and let's not forget Keon, who's been in the corner now for both of these fights, for Kelvin and now Keyshawn. The motivation to perform in front of each other and to use what Kelvin was able to do to inspire Keyshawn.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They're in the gym together. They've been in the household together. So, you know, there is that motivation. There is that drive. I'm sure they push each other quite a bit. You know, but it's, you know, it's very much like the guys you're in the gym with. A lot of times it's kind of like they're your family. They're your brothers. So, you know, it's not that unfamiliar for a lot of fighters.
Sure. This time, though, it's blood. And you got 2 extra family members to be in there. Another look at how things transpired in the 3rd round is Keyshawn Davis in full control. And again, we wondered if he'd live up to his moniker businessman. He has been business perfect.
Love his hand position, too. Even when Missa does muster up some shots, he lets him go. You're always caught on the glove or rolling the shoulder from Davis, showing a great mix of offense and defense together. I would like to see a little bit more pressure and combination punching from Davis. I think that he could probably get Missa out of there if he lets his hands go a little bit here.
We know Davis is hungry for ring time. He talks about the fact that he wants to fight, and he wants to fight often. We know Canelo, who we'll see as the final match of this day, the main event. He likes to fight. He's fighting so often. Keyshawn wants to fight 8 or 10 times a year.
Good. That's what you want from a young fighter. I mean, as a pro, you want to learn on the job. You know, I had 0 amateur fights. I had to learn as a pro. I fought 5 times my first year, 5 times my second year. So being busy is really important. It's something that can be really difficult to do.
Is it a matter of getting just experience being in the ring, or is it trying to, you know, ascend to those positions to start to vie for titles early? I mean, he wants to get there quick. He's not looking to bide his time over years. He wants to progress in months.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, he's obviously already got the skill set, you know, but getting that pro experience, taking that headgear off, putting on those smaller gloves, you know, dealing with, you know, hurting your hand or getting clipped or, you know, hurting your jaw or getting knocked down, things like that, you know, that you haven't experienced in the pro ranks. That's how you get that out of the way in the way to a world title shot. Ooh, good body shot there. Straight right hand to the body. Had Missa thinking twice.
Of course, an outstanding amateur, capped off by the fact a silver medalist at the 2019 Pan American Games and additionally at the World Championships that year. Talked about that step from outstanding amateurs. Doesn't always translate to being a terrific pro, but the sky seems to be the limit for Keyshawn. But what are we looking at in the areas that there definitely have to be improvements? Are you seeing something that has to be worked on significantly to be able to elevate him?
You know, I alluded to earlier, just the combination punching. You know, I like to see young guys letting their hands go, putting pressure on, really looking to, you know, force the stoppage, get the knockout. You know, I think when you've got total control of a guy and he can't hurt you, that you should really look to finish the fight. My coach, Andre Brazier, likes to say, we don't get paid for overtime. That being said, you know, Keyshawn knows that this is a 6-round fight. He still has 2 more full rounds in order to get the job done.
Backing down Mesa is just constantly the hunter. He has been pushing the Mexican around and just leading him.
I think Keyshawn heard me.
Yeah,
he pins him down on the ropes, lets his hands go, throws body shots. Okay,
we're not paid for OT.
I got nothing. I got nothing to complain about anymore.
Yeah. Mesa trying to fight back, but there's a strong right hand from Davis just towards the tail end of this 4th round. He's starting to employ it. Oh, and a late shot got in there, right on the nose.
Good stuff there to finish the round. Round number 4, looking very, very sharp as Keyshawn Davis. Picking up the pressure
assertive.
round by round.
Yeah, adding it up, just building up that momentum and that head of steam. And so far through 4 rounds, it has been all Davis.
Yeah, all Davis. I have him up 4 rounds to nothing, plus the extra point for round number 1 with the knockdown.
So just one more fight to come on our Before the Bell card, and we will see them coming to the ring momentarily at the conclusion of this, and it'll be Mark Castro, the United States, taking on Irving Macias Castillo. And of course, we know that Davis and Castro have a history, most of it amicable, friendly amongst each other, although they did square off a few times as amateurs.
I think I did read that you know, it's a friendly rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, they fought 3 times in the amateurs. Mark Castro actually won all 3 of the bouts. But they're both open to the idea that there could be a 4th match in the pros down the line.
Round number 5 finds its way to its beginning. And we'll see if Davis can build upon that flourish that he finished in round 4, where he really took control, was the asserter. Just walking Mesa back.
Looked like a nice little body shot there from Mesa. on the inside.
Yeah, on his amateur rivalry with Castro, he's quoted as saying the rivalry was great. There would be three rings going on at Nationals, but if me and Mark were fighting, all of the attention would be on us. And as you mentioned, yeah, they have talked. Have been whispers. They're not opposed to the idea of them getting back into the ring and taking each other on. But right now it seems to be sort of a mutual admiration society and being able to push each other now that they've gone from amateurs and pros together, both with respective 2-0 records as pros.
Sharp shots there from Keyshawn.
Yeah, Keyshawn just working, wheeling and dealing effectively.
A little uppercut there from Mesa, caught Keyshawn. See Keyshawn banging his gloves together, which usually means that was a good shot.
Yeah. Good for you, but fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. Well, then, you know what? But it seemed, yeah, here's now Keyshawn getting back to the entertainer. Got great stamina and good foot speed. Let's break, well, as evidenced by the...
Yeah, he doesn't waste a lot of energy. You know, he stays very composed. He doesn't overthrow himself, doesn't like to expose himself too much. Doesn't extend his gas tank. Although it does seem like he's in phenomenal shape as well. But yeah, since that uppercut landed, it seems like Keyshawn has been on the bicycle a little bit, using his lateral movement, looking to counter.
First little chance for Mesa to establish that he still got that stamina that we have been expanding on throughout. Never stopped in his 10 professional fights. He's trying to find a way now to back down Davis, employ a little aggressive tactic of his own.
Yeah, one thing I saw from watching the tapes of Mesa, he is a tough guy. You know, I saw him take a lot of punishment along the ropes in some of his fights, stayed throughout, has yet to be stopped, but always fought back and threw hard punches.
He's got that spindly frame, those thin levers that just sort of find through. They found their way through a couple of times just to graze Davis on the cheek and wake Keyshawn up.
You know, power's a funny thing. A lot of the hardest punchers in boxing history have been tall, long, lanky guys. Think, you know, like a Thomas Hitman Hearns. Long, spindly legs, but big power.
Oh, that left hand was powerful. Abrasive.
But this is what I saw from Mesa from the tapes I saw. You know, he'll get caught on the ropes, he'll get hit with big shots, but he stays upright.
Davis thought he had a bit of momentum starting to build there where Mesa was able to wrap him up and get out of trouble. And that's it. And Keyshawn Davis takes exception to Mesa at the end of the 5th round. A little spirited glare back and forth between the two. But so far, Davis continues to hold sway and is 1 round away from improving to 3-0 as a professional. Continuing to progress through the night as the 4 bouts on the before the bell card that we're happy to be bringing you, and then later the 4 fights on the card that will ultimately lead to Canelo and Saunders in front of what now has been estimated already as the biggest boxing crowd in some time, but the biggest since the pandemic in sporting events. Not just 70,000, but Eddie Hearn was quoted as saying upwards of 73,000 fans expected here in AT&T Stadium. So the concluding round has come to pass now for Keyshawn Davis and Jose Antonio Mesa. They can go no longer. The last 3 minutes of the fight to see who will emerge. Right now it has been all Davis, and I'm sure on points and rounds thus far, this is his fight to win unless Mesa can come up with something miraculous.
Yeah, have him up 5 rounds to none with an extra point for round number 1. I'm curious to see if Keyshawn's going to go for the knockout here or if he's just going to look to stay perfect with a shutout to victory.
Going for some big shots already is Davis in those lightning quick hands. Not quite able to find the mark. Mesa just being elusive enough. Looking to establish a little shot down towards the body to get those hands down from Mesa. I think what you were alluding to just moments ago, Chris, I would think Davis he wants to keep a perfect 3-0 record, but he also wants to keep all of them done by knockouts.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, we still got a little less than 2 minutes to go in this round. He's softened Mesa up quite a bit over these 5.5 rounds. Good body work there. from Keyshawn Davis. That was a similar punch to his brother threw earlier today, moving along the ropes and then fired that rear hand. Keyshawn showing a good arsenal tonight. You know, the good straight right hand, some good body work. The left hook thrown as a lead and in combination has been very effective, and the jab has been consistent throughout.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'd see a fight like this that Davis has put together, just the combinations and the style of fighting, but he's going up against a guy who just doesn't quit. I mean, he doesn't give you anything where he's going to back down or go down.
And I'd mentioned Miz has never been stopped. He's a tough guy. I've seen him in some tough fights where he made it to the end. So
ultimately, because of the fact he's had both previous fights finished via knockout, almost seemingly too easy, this is actually maybe something of a good benchmark for Davis to work through mentally as far as his progression.
Oh, absolutely. I have no problem with young fighters getting rounds in the bank. You know, the pro ranks are different. You get hit with these shots, these little gloves, and punches that maybe people on the side don't see. You feel. So it's a good experience being there in those rounds and understand offense, defense, timing, rhythm, and all these things.
Ultimately, though, looking back upon this fight, Davis and his camp will undoubtedly be pleased. Maybe the knockout just wasn't meant to be, so he won't have his third of his professional career, but he's destined now to improve to an unblemished 3-0 as the fight is over. And Keyshawn Davis once again impresses, both with his flair and his showmanship, but straight up his boxing talent and skills coming to the forefront as he handles Jose Antonio Mesa with relative ease. Of course, the decision has to be announced officially, but for the former standout as an amateur, his professional career continues to just rise and rise. And the hermanos de Norfolk, Virginia, look to stay perfect. Kelvin Davis victorious earlier today, and his younger brother Keyshawn Davis on the precipice of 3-0. So the building blocks that have been so touted for Keyshawn Davis, Chris, coming out to the forefront again. Another just impressive day at the office.
Yeah, absolutely. Offense and defense mixed perfectly together. I like that. I got to see some combination punching, some pressure put on, great counter punching, good defense. Very good night for Keyshawn Davis.
And another impressive performance from Jose Antonio Mesa, as he was thought to be just a minor impediment, but he lasted the full 6 rounds, stood in, at times giving almost as good as he was getting, but it was really never in doubt. So we will head to the ring for the official announcement for Keyshawn Davis.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of action here at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, we go to the judges' score totals. All 3 judges scored this bout identically, 60-54. For your winner, he's still undefeated, the businessman, Keyshawn Davis.
And so he remains perfect. 3 fights, 3 victories. Keyshawn Davis just dazzles once again here in the big house in Big D. And a fine performance for the young American as he continues to rise. The 22-year-old looking impressive once more.
Stream live sport on Dazn. Just search DAZN in your app store and download Dazn to your smart TV, mobile device, computer or games console. Click on the subscription plan, sign up and create your account. Start streaming live sport, exclusive weekly content, archive events and award-winning documentary films. Only on Dazn.
All right, Chris, you mentioned throughout that, calling that fight that young fighters, it's good to get rounds. And I think Edgar Berlanga is making it bad for these young prospects, knocking everybody out. People want knockouts. Thought it was a good performance. He hurt him a couple of times, didn't get the knockout, but he got the win, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really high on Keyshawn Davis, as a lot of us are. He showed a lot of different things tonight. You know, his jab was perfect. He found his range right away on a taller, longer opponent. Was able to close off the ring very well, cut off the ring very well. Got his man on the ropes, did some damage, put his man down in the first round. So, I mean, a very dominant performance. It would have been great to get the knockout, but the young fighter gets some rounds.
Do you see anything that he needs to work on? Maybe go to the body more or what?
You know, I had said it during the cast, you know, I think it was round number 4. I wanted him to put a little more physical body pressure on his man and let his hands go. And then he actually did it. So I was really impressed with everything he did today. Maybe if he started a little bit earlier, he could have put more pressure and got him out of there.
Yeah, I mean, look, the more I see Keyshawn fight within the 3 fights, I remember Brock and I were talking to him, I don't know, a couple years ago at SiriusXM. He was still an amateur, waiting to go to Tokyo for the Olympics. He said he wants an Olympic gold medal. And when I heard he's signing pro, at first I thought, man, did he make the right decision? Now, every time I see him fight, it's a confirmation he made the right decision. He has a great professional fighting style.
Absolutely. I called his pro debut, and I was amazed at how much he looked like a pro coming out of the amateurs. Generally, there's some kind of transition period. He has had none. He looks like a true professional, consummate throughout, and actually seasoned at this point.
Right. Use it as a transition, kind of like Shakur Stevenson. He was talked about like Davis, and it took him a while to start sitting down on his punches, but Davis seems to be more aggressive early. Do you think, and he's unscathed right now, do you think he should do things like Floyd Mayweather and fight like 9 fights a year?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if he can go through fights like this, went through a 6-rounder, took no damage at all, you know, got his work done, looked great doing it, and learned a lot. So I think the more he gets in the ring, the more professional experience he gets on fight night, the better off he is.
Well, we'll be talking to Keyshawn Davis in a minute. First, let's talk about a brand new show on Dazn. Check it out.
Introducing the Dazn Boxing Show, the brand new talk show bringing you all the exclusive news, interviews, and outspoken views from the world of boxing.
Champions fight champions.
Statements need to be made in boxing, right?
That would be a big fight.
This kid is the real deal.
Because he's going to just get better and more mature.
It's just a game.
All of this and so much more. The Dazn Boxing Show, only on Dazn.
All right, so we're sitting here with Keyshawn. Congrats on a good win.
Appreciate it.
Hurt the guy. I know you was trying to get him out of there. You wanted that 3rd round knockout. What do you think you learned from this fight?
I learned that I can't knock everybody out. Honestly, coming to the pros, I thought I was going to knock everybody out. That was my goal, but can't knock everybody out. Learn the experience. I went the whole 6 rounds. Felt I could have did 10. So that, I mean, that's all that matters, honestly.
Well, he's never been knocked out before, and he's a pretty tough guy. Did you feel his power at all?
Definitely, man. That man had power. But what really surprised me about that opponent, he was so awkward. Yeah. And with awkward fighters like the Christopher Diaz and the what's his name? Nagarate. He's so awkward. You don't know where his punch is coming from. And that's kind of how I felt with his opponent today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look. If you take a look at here, like when he went down, I noticed you landed a lot of sneaky 1-2s, like right down the pipe, and you hurt him a couple of times. You think that maybe you should have went a little more to the body, maybe would have chopped him down a little earlier?
Definitely. I was thinking that in the fight. I'm like, damn, I need to touch this guy's body some. But it felt kind of awkward because he was moving so much in an awkward way. It was like, only thing I felt I could touch him with was like straight jabs, sometimes straight right hands. I couldn't really slip my real body shots in, but like I said, it was a learning experience.
Well, that time when he went down, they didn't rule out a knockdown, but you kind of went over him aggressively. What did you say to him?
No, I ain't saying nothing to him, but my tactics is always to get in my opponent's head, and that's what I was trying to do today.
Well, you was not only touching him, you touched the referee too, pushed him out of the damn way. Do you get that hype when you're in a fight where you just have tunnel vision, you want to get right back to your opponent?
Oh, definitely. I was doing stuff like that as an amateur, honestly. I guess I brought it to the pros.
Well, you gonna get the wrong referee like Steve Smoger one time. You might have to fight him.
Yeah, you gotta physically fight Steve Smoger.
Hey, it's all good.
Absolutely. All right, so what's next? Are you going to be like Floyd Mayweather? We were saying that earlier. Fight like 7, 8, 9 times a year?
Definitely. I should be back sometime in June. back to back to back. My brother should be fighting with me. And y'all gonna see us a lot more, man. Honestly, for sure, y'all gonna see us a lot more this year.
Well, speaking of your brother Kelvin, what do you think about his performance?
Kelvin Davis, I feel like his performance was great all the way to the last round. I told him, I said, Kelvin, that one mistake was your only mistake, in my opinion. Of course, it's stuff you need to work on, but that one mistake was your only biggest mistake. And we're going to get back to the drawing boards, and we're gonna do even better next time.
Listen, your pro debut was in Miami, front of around 15,000 people, Canelo card. Now you're on another Canelo card, big arena, 70,000 coming tonight. I mean, you might get spoiled. I mean, fighting in big cards, or do you not care in the type of atmosphere that you fight? You just want to get the fights in?
Definitely, man. I'll go to NBC, Ring City to fight if I have no fights for that month. Like, I'm just want to stay busy and stay active so I can keep getting better and better each time I'm in that ring. So when the big fights do come, everything in my craft is perfected.
You look like you were having fun out there. I could see you smile when you were coming out. I was like, oh man, this man, he's taking in all the energy all the night. But do you think that this atmosphere affected your performance in any way?
No, not at all, man. I've been traveling across the world, international fights, been fighting in uncomfortable places. This is comfortable to me, and I feel like a lot of these fans that was here was on my side, even though it's a Mexican crowd, so I appreciate the fans today.
You know what gives you a lot of experience as a pro fighter rounds, right? You mentioned that after the 6 rounds, you were fresh, right? You can go 10, right? So does that mean that your next fight you want to go to 8, you want to jump to 8, then 10?
No, I'm gonna stay 6 rounders. And like I said, I'm gonna go 6 rounds up to 20-0 if I can. And I'm gonna just milk the game, man. And I'm gonna, like I said, keep getting better in my craft.
You know you're not supposed to say that publicly, right? I'm gonna milk the game.
Well, I just did.
All right, listen, let me throw 2 names at you. Zab Judah and Canelo. Both of them have multiple brothers who stepped inside that ring. But only one of them was special out of all of those brothers in both families. Are you telling me that we have 3 Davis brothers that are all special?
Honestly, yes. Yeah. We honestly really, really do. I felt that God put this here for a reason, to prove to these fans that we all are special. It's not just Keyshawn Davis. It's DB3. It's the Davis brothers.
Oh, that's what that means.
Come over and take over the game.
Right.
Definitely, DB3, Davis brothers.
All right, well, listen, you're a prospect, hot prospect. There's another hot prospect on this card. You shared the ring with him in the amateurs. You're talking about Mark Castro, who's fighting next. I mean, it's kind of hard. You're a big guy, so you might not get a chance to get some get back with him. What do you think about him as a fighter?
As a fighter, he worked just as hard as me to get here. He deserved everything he getting. Me and Mark Castro as friends, we were just in the locker room wishing each other luck and stuff like that. But I heard his comment yesterday out on the weigh-in stage saying 3-0 is not a rivalry. Well, since it's not a rivalry, let's start comparing performances then. Since I'm so big and he's so little, okay, I fought today, judge my performance and then judge his performance, and then fans, let's see who's the better fighter. Let's be real.
All right, we heard it here. Mark Castro's gonna have to live up to that. But
he definitely is.
Deep down, do you still want some get back, friends or not?
Honestly, not really. I come into pros, I won't think about Mark Castro. Yeah. I was thinking about going undefeated with all knockouts. Yeah. I didn't start thinking about Mark Castro until I got to the zone, my debut DAZN bubble, and they started bringing up Mark Castro. I'm like, why is they bringing up Mark Castro?
Because we create fights here, bro. That's what we do.
We instigate it.
We instigate.
No, but it's true what you said, because look, Barack, I mean, a lot of people bring up old fights. You know, we talk Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields and all, but if you think about it, how many fighters have losses in the amateurs? Are we going to go back and try to avenge every single loss in the amateurs, Chris?
Yeah, how far are we going to go back? We're really talking here. You guys have your own careers, your own different trajectories. Hey, if it happens, it happens. But I don't think Keyshawn Davis is really looking in that direction.
It's a story, though. Yeah. That's the thing, though. When you got a story, it creates a better atmosphere, a better fight.
Honestly, I think it could happen. I really think it could happen. We're not too far apart. It's just we so early on in our careers. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? I will be able to go down to 130 if that fight is available at 130, but I'm not going to 126. But the farthest I will go is 130 to make that fight happen. Mark Castro, if you want to make this fight happen, we can promote the shit out of this fight and make it happen. If you want to fight.
You might not have to sign to a promoter, man. Maybe Keyshawn Davis Promotions.
DB3 Promotions.
DB3 Promotions.
Starting off right, promoting yourself. Before you get out of here, Keyshawn, real quick, we're here for the big fight, right? Canelo, Saunders. How does that fight play out?
I think it's a 12-round fight. I think Canelo is going to win, but I don't think he's going to knock Billy Joe out. I think he's going to win a 12-round split decision. But I'm sorry, Canelo, you're one of my favorite fighters, but I'm going for Billy Joe Saunders. I love the underdog fighters. I love the mentality Billy Joe coming in with. I love his heart that he coming in with. He's not scared. He told everybody earlier in the week that y'all better get this right or I ain't fighting. And he making sure everything's right. He's here to fight, and I can't wait to see the fight happen tonight.
Well, that's why I was rooting for your opponent, because I like underdogs too.
All right, thanks for joining us, Keyshawn, man. Good luck next time out in the ring, man.
Thank
Congratulations again. Let's go over to David Diamante and get to this Castro fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are set to go with our next contest of the evening. 6 rounds in the super featherweight division. Set to make his ring walk. Fighting out of Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, Irving Macias Castillo.
The final fight of our Before the Bell card comes to pass, and a lot of expectations on the opponent of this young man. It's a battle of young guns, a couple of 20-somethings still early in their career, looking to establish a foothold on forward progress. And do not overlook Irving Macias Castillo. This young man has fought 10 times, and he's won 9, 6 by knockout. He is a force that can be stood in against and reckoned with, but as far as he believes, Mark Castro, he's just another man in his path that must go down. Well, Chris, as we welcome you back to our play-by-play booth, we know the idea is that the build-up really is about what Mark Castro can bring to the ring, but this young man has shown he's got a tremendous skill set already.
Absolutely. I mean, he's got a great record. He's 9-1 with 6 KOs. We've got a Mexican-American versus a Mexican, so we're guaranteed fireworks. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I always look forward to Mark Castro. I think he is a phenomenal prospect with a big potential. So let's see what he can do with this man, Irving Macias Castillo.
And now, set to make his ring walk, here is the undefeated Mark Castro.
Well, the theme de Mexico continues. El Salvadorian father, a Mexican mother, lives in Fresno, California, here in these United States. He wears all of that so well with such pride, as he does his ability to box. An outstanding amateur career. Let's talk a couple numbers. Two times world amateur champion, but how about 17 times in his home nation, the United States, a amateur champion. He brings all of those accolades, all of that skill to the professional ranks, and all he has done thus far is win. 2 times in the ring, twice coming away victorious via knockout. Talking about none other than Mark Castro.
And he puts on fan-friendly performances as well. He pushes the action. He wants the knockouts, and he goes for it. Last fight, he looked phenomenal in crushing a very, very tough, solid opponent. And I spoke to him earlier this week. He wants to do the same tonight.
He's also a contemplative man, likes to think, likes to get into the aesthetics as well as the strategy of boxing. He's also studying at Fresno State University, so he's not just boxing, he's also putting in the works with a double major in kinesiology and sports management, so he's got a lot on his plate, and yet it seems to all be working for him. He's a man who likes to be busy. So the fourth of 4 fights ready as both fighters have made their way to the ring. Castro and Castillo on this Cinco de Mayo weekend in Dallas, Texas, here in Arlington at Cowboy Stadium, affectionately known as AT&T Stadium. 70,000 strong expected to fill in, and already many of the fans have filed in to fill in seats. This is going to be a stage that has not been witnessed or experienced by either of these fighters previously, certainly as pros.
Ladies and gentlemen, from AT&T Stadium here in Arlington, Texas, USA, live on Dazn, we are set to go with a special super featherweight attraction. And it's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing. We're sponsored by Hennessy, Never Stop, Never Settle, Air Force Reserve, Tecate, Bet Online, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Orange Crush, and Value. Introducing your 3 judges scoring this contest from ringside: Robert Chapa, Don Griffin, and Anthony Moss. And at the center of the belt, your third man in the ring, referee Rosario Solis. And now, ladies and gentlemen, 6 rounds of boxing scheduled in the super featherweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, standing with his head trainer, Marco Antonio Rodriguez. He wears the blue with white and gold trim. He scaled 127.6 pounds. His professional record, 8 wins, only 1 defeat, with 5 wins coming by way of knockout. Presentando el hijo de Monterrey, Nuevo León, México, Irving Macías Castillo. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. He stands with his head trainer, Tony Castro. He wears the black with gold trim. He scaled 132.4 pounds. His young professional record thus far perfect: 2 fights, 2 victories, and they both came by way of knockout. Here is the highly decorated amateur standout, the 17-time national champion and the 2-time amateur world champion, fighting out of Fresno, California, Mark Castro.
Gentlemen, give you instructions in the dressing room. Give las instrucciones en el vestidor. Protege de todo el tiempo. Protect yourself at all times. Obedezca mis órdenes. Obey my commands at all times. Good luck, guys. Touch them up. Don't get one.
Recognition from Rosario Solis as the 2 fighters head to their corners and prepare. The atmosphere already starting to build up. Around 20 to 25,000 fans coming in, giving a good reception to both of these fighters, both with Mexican heritage. Castillo from Mexico, and of course Castro, who lives in Fresno, California. His mother hails from Mexico as well. On Cinco de Mayo weekend, as round number 1 gets underway.
Castro starting fast, and a nice chopping left hook to the side of the head of Castillo, right off the first bell. Castro wasting no time, putting a lot of pressure and letting his hands go here in round number 1.
Goodness gracious, he's out of the gates as if he has a reservation for dinner over at the Smokehouse in Arlington here. He doesn't want to waste any time. Get to that table. I mean, he is all business from the outset.
Maybe he wants to get showered up and get back out here for the Canelo main event.
That's right. Well, he could still have dinner and a good seat if he works at this pace and is able to rid himself of Castillo, but it is just a full onslaught. Just unrelenting in this opening minute from Castro. And it has animated this already growing crowd. As mentioned, expecting 70,000. I would estimate just shy of maybe 20,000 at this point, and they're already starting to take a look at Castro, and they like what they see.
Yeah, Castro looking very strong right now, letting his hands go really well, finding all the holes in the defense of Castillo.
I mentioned a smart boxer. He really uses the ability to think and out-strategize opponents is Castro. His mother, a school teacher, really instilled in him the idea to study, to really try to learn, to go in with a plan of attack, and boy, has he come out with one. Aggression, followed by more aggression.
Yeah, it seems like his game plan was come out here and hurt his man. And we are not mad about that.
A heaping helping from Castro.
Ooh, good left hook to the body there along the ropes. Little blood from the nose of Castillo now. So much pressure being put on by Mark Castro.
Well, he's feeling leather just constantly. Every time he opens his eyes, it appears that there's a glove right on his face.
You know, Castillo seems to be making a technical mistake. He picks his head up when he punches.
And just no defense. Castillo just can't put anything up that is stopping or impeding the progress of the fists of Castro.
Oh, big right hand there from Castro. I don't see this fight going much longer.
Yeah, the eyes will now be on Rosario Solis as he has to watch out. Castillo could be in danger of just being punished and therefore hurt. I mean, Castro continues the unrelenting pursuit.
I like what Castro's doing. He's not forgetting about the body either. He's starting upstairs and working his way down with right hands and left hooks to the body on either side. Ooh, there's that left hook again. Castro too big, too strong, too good right now for Castillo.
Yeah, the lanky and Castillo just doesn't really have anything to put up as far as a block. I mean, there's nothing that's causing any stoppage of Castro's attack.
No, I mean, it looks like Castro has filled in nicely from the weigh-in yesterday. He looks very strong. Looking much bigger and stronger than Castillo.
Castillo waiting for that bell to sort of save him here in this opening round as Castro just dominates. A smothering attack in the opening round.
That was pretty much an onslaught from bell to bell from Mark Castro.
That's the type of aggression that Castro's fans love to see, but I think that might have even caught everybody, including Castro's camp off guard, Braz, because that was just nonstop. It was as if they got out of the gates running a 100-meter dash. He was just into Castillo immediately. We'll see if that can continue. What Castillo is able to do, he's really had nothing to shore up his boxing talents. And we talk about awkward fighters. Sometimes that can be troubling for opponents, but Castro had no problem dealing with whatever Castillo was doing out there, and I'm not sure it was boxing.
Yeah, he didn't give Castillo the chance to be awkward. He came right at him, right out of the gate, landed a left hook, and then just kept the pressure on from bell to bell, ripping shots to the head and the body for a full 3 minutes.
Much like the fighter before him who was impressive, Keyshawn Davis, a standout at the amateur level who could have gone on to Olympic glory. Everyone's expecting it, but Davis went pro, as did Castro. And Castro had multiple opportunities to represent in Tokyo, obviously as an American, but also his father, El Salvadorian, could have fought for El Salvador. His mother, Mexican. There was also some talk about him representing from our neighbors south of the border.
Blood pouring from the nose of Castillo, and those left hooks, he just has no answer for them. Even when his glove is up, they seem to be going right through.
Bypassing any Olympic glory to go pro, and it seems the decision made was the right one, and there's no looking back for Mark Castro. And he has been forward-thinking in this fight right from the outset.
Castro just ripping shots with both hands any chance he gets. The face of Castillo is a bloody mess.
In case this fight does end up being of brevity, as it seems to continue to move in Castro's way, what are the things that have really impressed you from the maturation process of amateur to pro for Mark?
You know, honestly, I've seen a maturation process from his pro fights. You know, from his pro debut to his second pro fight, which we had the chance to call. You know, it was a vast improvement. He looked, you know, awkward and off balance in his first fight, but his second fight, he settled down. He showed power. He fought a normally durable guy and was able to drop him immediately with a jab and ended up getting out of here. Now we're seeing more of that. We're seeing a lot more power coming from Castro. Much better footwork, much better balance. And you can tell Castro, he didn't come out here to show his boxing skills. He came out here to make a statement that he's a power puncher and he's going to try and get his man out of there.
Well, you know, seizing the opportunity, being on a stage this massive on the card with Canelo and Saunders, and recognizing the vast arena that they're fighting in, Castro almost seems to be trying to make, as you say, a statement on this stage to alert everybody in boxing that he is here as a pro to be reckoned with.
Yeah, Castillo's actually mustering up some fight at this point. He threw some punches back, landed some good shots on Castro on the inside. Here we see an uppercut and a left hook combination from Castillo. Another right hand there. You've got to be careful when a guy like Castro comes out so fast. A lot of times you can spend the gas tank a little bit.
Yeah, if Castillo, I don't know if he had the forethought to do it because he's really been weathering a lot of blows, but if he thinks that if he's got the stamina, can hang in, Castro punches himself down a notch or two because of all the expended energy.
Very possible, especially, you know, again, we were talking about the magnitude of this fight. You know, nerves plays a big part of your conditioning as well. That can sap your gas tank as well. And when you got a guy like Castro throwing such big shots like this throughout, good right hand there from Castillo, you know, it's easy to sap that gas tank.
And the round comes to an end, and you just see this, the mess that has been made. A lot of blood out of the nose of Castillo early, just all over, speckling his body as Castro has tried to deliver an ounce of flesh through the opening 2 rounds. Has the upper hand. Well, still stay with us. We'll conclude our Before the Bell broadcast and then moving over to Dazn for the main card, the main event tonight. Canelo Saunders, a very much anticipated, a very hyped contest between those two, as well as a full card of entertaining fights still to come here at AT&T Stadium. Opened in May of 2009. It seat 80,000 in capacity. We're expecting somewhere between 70 and 72,000 when this is filled for tonight's sellout crowd. And another good look at just the determined. Look at the focus of Castro as he zeroes in on Castillo.
Yeah, the intensity so far from Castro has been impressive. Two-handed onslaught from the very opening bell, and it's continued through 2 rounds. Marked up the face, blood all over the ring at this point from Castillo.
Start of round number 3 as we approach the halfway mark of the scheduled 6 rounds. Kevin Skinner alongside, former MMA champion, boxing champion, author of Fighter's Kitchen.
Kickboxing champion, not MMA.
Kickboxing, excuse me. Sorry, I got so ahead. I wanted to give you that plug for that Fighter's Kitchen. By the way, bought it. Some of the recipes, fantastic. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Already starting to drop kilos. Not fighting weight, but it's helping me get in shape, carrying around that 6-month-old kid. But Castro's been carrying this fight on his back. He has been the man who has been out front. He's got a foothold on the opening 2 rounds. What about what's the book on Castro as far as his ability to focus in and really fine-tune the idea of how he approaches fight after fight? Is he a guy who just zeroes in, or does he kind of take a little time away, then come back to boxing when he's ready to fight?
No, I think that he's the kind of guy who lives it, makes it a lifestyle, stays in the gym. He's been boxing all of his whole life. In the last training camp, I spoke to him quite a bit about, making his training more scientific and being a little smarter about it. But yeah, no, he's all in his boxing.
It's important in a lot of ways, and we're starting to see that more with the real standout younger fighters, aren't we? They're 24/7 boxing. It's not about taking some time off, waiting to have a scheduled fight, and then starting to ramp up your training, your nutrition, all that stuff. It live and breathe basically from the start of the day to the end.
Yeah, it's great to see fighters, young fighters, understand that this is a job, and you work 365 days a year, 52 weeks a year. So
Castro seems to have that fire that burns already, and again, at 21 years of age, he's still starting to get maturity into the body, has some room to grow there. The mind seems pretty sharp and pretty sturdy.
A lot of swelling over the right eye of Castillo, courtesy of those left hooks that Mark Castro has been landing for round number 1.
Yeah, Castro delivered another left that just caught the jaw of Castillo, so it's not bad enough that he's opening up cuts and forcing Castillo to bleed, but the chin is starting to really feel the impact.
That nose is leaking at this point. Thick blood coming out, usually a sign of a broken nose.
Castro drops his defensive just a touch, and Castillo trying to take advantage. Not sure that's vulnerability, but are we starting to see a little bit of the wear and tear of all of the output from Castro now as far as stamina?
Yeah, it looks like it. I do see a little breach in the stamina there of Mark Castro. He's fighting with his mouth open. Looks like he's taking some deep breaths in there, but still letting those hands go. Still causing damage. So, there's that double left hook there by Castro. Catches Castillo as he pulls out straight. You can see the focus on Castro, man. He has not taken his eyes off of his opponent.
No, he's had that dialed in, zero gaze, as if the horses that have blinders on. He is fully focused on Castillo ahead of him as this 3rd round comes to its conclusion. But a couple of nice adjustments. Castillo's taken a lot of punishment already through the first half of this fight, but he hasn't really wavered himself. He still shows that he's got maybe just taking those punches has benefited him, as Castro seems just a little less with the quickness, if not the focus.
There's no question Castillo is a very, very tough customer. Like you said, he hasn't wavered that much. He's been taking the punch as well. It's just his face hasn't. His nose has been busted up. He's starting to swell up. He's been taking a lot of halation punches all night long, but hasn't gone down yet. Hasn't seemed like his will is broken yet either.
Exciting to see these fighters that have come in the nascent stages of their career. Kelvin Davis improving to 2-0 as a professional. His younger brother, Keyshawn Davis, now 3-0 in the professional ranks. So the 2 members of the DB3 are combined 5-0. And Castro looking to join Keyshawn Davis as a perfect 3-0 with his record. As we move into the second half of this final fight, round 4 of the scheduled 6.
Highlights, we saw a double left hook there from Mark Castro, and then also you notice that big swelling over the right eye of Castillo. good double left hook, high and low.
Yeah, he's used that double left hook just a couple of times here just to really sting Castillo. It's so quick, the recovery, the recoil, and the redistribution.
A la Julio Cesar Chavez. One of the best body punches and the best Mexican of all time.
Castro, as mentioned, makes his home in Fresno, California. Somewhat central to the state, kind of in the eastern central portion, sort of just along the borders of Death Valley. But it's been a town that has produced a number of tremendous professional athletes, most noticeably and most common being in the NFL ranks. But there's also been Major League Baseball players such as Tom Seaver, NBA stars. The NFL has produced a number of quarterbacks like David Carr, Trent Dilford, Ryan Matthews. But there have been professional boxers that have hailed from Fresno. Jennifer Alcorn, the 18-0 professional career. She was a WIBA, IWBF, and IBA lightweight world champion herself. And Hector Lizarraga, Papi, was the 1997 IBF featherweight title champion. But Castro wants to be the man to come from Fresno.
Let's not forget Ramirez, who is the WBO and the WBC junior lightweight world champion, who's fighting in a unification bout in just a few weeks against Josh Taylor.
Sure. So some good pedigree hailing from there. But here's Castro once again, and now it is done. Well, he had a little bit of a foot off the gas moment in the previous round, but it was not to be, because when he regrouped and came back with a flourish, once more, it is Mark Castro who proves that he is a force to be reckoned with, as the super featherweight finds his way to a perfect record once again, stopped. And what can you say about a guy who goes out and just knocks out opponents? Well, 3 for 3 for Mark Castro as a pro.
Yeah, I like that stoppage. I think that he had taken enough punishment. Castro wasn't putting on as much pressure as he was a couple rounds earlier, but he was still doing a lot of damage, landing a lot of punches. Really, Castillo had no answer for the two-handed assault that Mark Castro started from round number 1.
And for Rosario Solis, that's all the occurrence. You'll see here at the end as Castillo says, wait a minute, why are you stopping the fight? I can still take a lot of punishment, but that's the point, isn't it? He was being beaten.
Yes.
He wasn't doing anything to fight back.
Listen, I understand where Castillo's coming from. He was still throwing punches. He was still in the fight. He was still on his feet. He wanted to go out on a shield. He's a true Mexican warrior. But listen, he was way behind, and it wasn't really mustering up much of any kind of offense that would have offset Castro down the stretch.
And there might have been a pride factor for Castillo to stay in and try to withstand and endure the pressure from Castro. But Solis says that's enough. I don't want to see anybody getting hurt. And it was Castro who was just wheeling and dealing, forcing the pressure, and the continued ascent of the young stars from the United States. Keyshawn Davis followed by Mark Castro. It is Castro who emerges victorious in an impressive effort on this 8 de 5 in Arlington, Texas.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Rosario Solis calls a halt to this contest. The official time of the stoppage, 2 minutes and 4 seconds of round number 4. Your winner by TKO, he's still undefeated, Mark Castro.
Now what a talent and what a professional already. Muy bueno for Mark Castro on this 8 de Mayo, on this Cinco de Mayo weekend. An impressive performance, and he will be absolutely delighted as he improves to 3-0 as a pro. Castro back into the win column here in Texas.
Dazn's first NFT drop lands with Canelo versus Saunders. Engage with the fight like never before, with exclusive Dazn NFT collectibles, digital assets that fans can buy, trade, and collect. Bid on and buy collectibles in 4 limited edition collections, including the Pick 'em Like prediction series that comes with a chance to earn real-world rewards. Watch the fight live to see which NFTs win, and look out for details during the broadcast of a special post-fight drop. Don't miss Dazn's first NFT drop. Live on DAZNboxing.io.
All right, Chris, another prospect moves to 3-0. We might start a little beef there with him and Davis. Now, 2 totally different styles. more of like a Omar Figueroa type of style. That's what I saw in him. Punches from weird angles, obviously very strong. But I would say just as impressive as Keyshawn, just in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a perfect assessment of the two. Very, very different. Mark obviously came out to make a statement tonight. Literally from round number one, it was a two-fisted assault, damaging his opponent throughout, never let off the gas pedal. Very impressive performance. He looked very strong in there. It seems like he's really growing into his body, growing into the weight class. Such a vast improvement from his pro debut.
Well, I think Keyshawn came out to make a statement as well, but he had a tougher guy who could take his shots.
Yeah.
But what do you think that Castro needs to work on, if anything?
I would have liked to see him use some of his boxing skills. He really just came in there just wading through shots and just leading with his power. Listen, it was exciting. It was fun. He did a lot of damage. But I would like to see him use some of that boxing skill from that vaunted long amateur career. He's going to need it as the competition steps up.
I want to continue instigating. Who were you more impressed with, Keyshawn Davis or Mark Castro?
Honestly, I liked what Castro did, especially because of where we are, but I'm so impressed with Keyshawn Davis. His ability to be offensive and defensive at the same time, to seamlessly slip in between hitting the guy and not being hit, that's boxing.
Now, I like what Mark did. It was wonderful getting the stoppage. Do you think they maybe should have stopped a little bit earlier?
I thought so. I was saying that during the cast. There was enough damage being dealt. I understand where Castillo was coming from. He was still on his feet. He never went down. He wasn't really that hurt, but his face was a mess, and he was so far behind and so outgunned. There was no need to see any more.
Yeah, I always say that, Chris. Sometimes, it's a 4-round fight, right? Or this might have been a 6-rounder, but what's at stake at this fight to put this fighter through that much punishment, right? When you're talking championship fights, big opportunities, I understand why refs might give a guy a little bit more, but there was no way this guy was winning that fight. I think the refs, maybe even his own corner, should have stopped that after the first round.
I thought it was going to get stopped in the first round. Castillo was tough. He came back a little bit, but he wasn't really strong enough or had enough firepower to keep Mark off him. I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you got the stoppage, and the kid lives on to fight another day.
All right, so you was impressed more with Keyshawn Davis. Are you going to get a Keyshawn Davis NFT?
If I knew what that was, maybe, but I have no idea what an NFT is. So
sounds fancy.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the main event of the evening, man. I mean, this is what, before the main event, obviously we're gonna get into some co-main event. Look, it starts off with heavyweights as the highly ranked Cuban Felix Sanchez looks to continue his unbeaten run when he faces New York's Nagy Aguilera.
Super welterweights Kieran Conway and the unbeaten former Olympian Suleiman Kosoko should have fought last year, but they're finally clashing tonight.
That's right. Then it's a world title action. Defending the WO light flyweight champion Elwin Soto makes the third defense on his crown against Japanese Katsunado Takayama.
And finally, the reason why you guys are all watching and the reason why we get a paycheck is Saul Alvarez, the big super middleweight unification showdown with Britain's unbeaten Billy Joe Saunders takes place live and exclusive on Dazn in front of 70,000 fans here at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas.
I mean, look, Chris, this is what we're all here for, right? The curiosity of how good can Billy Joe Saunders do against Canelo Alvarez? People keep referring to Lara, to Trout, to Floyd, boxers. Obviously, this is not the same Canelo Alvarez that we saw years ago. But Billy Joe Saunders is a credible opponent. This is no Yildirim. This is no Callum Smith. No disrespect to Callum Smith, he was a real 168 champion. But I think this is his biggest test since Triple G.
I thought the Callum Smith fight was a big test. Callum Smith went out there and I mean, he tried his best, but Canelo had the answer every step of the way. Could that happen again tonight? Sure. Do I think it's going to? Probably not. I think that, I agree with you. I think that BJ Saunders is a very real test, very dangerous guy, and honestly, he has the goods to win this fight.
I think a lot of fighters are tough on paper, but then you get guys like Floyd and Canelo who takes away all your pluses, all the things that you do very well. That's just what Canelo does.
No, it's a sweet science. Hit and don't be hit. Neutralize your opponent's offense. The best fighters in the world, the pound-for-pound guys, always have good defense. Canelo has great defense.
People keep talking about face the fearless. They're talking about how Billy Joe is so fearless, right? But sometimes you can use fear as an advantage. I remember Sergio said it in the fighting meetings. Maybe he needs to be a little fearful with a guy like Canelo Alvarez, because if you go head on, you might get clipped, might get hurt. So how much fear can be part in this fight?
I think it's going to play a big part of the fight. I think BJ knows what he has in front of him. He gives all the credit that is due to Canelo Alvarez. He knows he's a great fighter in front of him, but he believes he's a great fighter as well. I don't care what, all that trash talk, he's not dumb. He's a two-division undefeated champion for a reason. He's going to go out there, he's going to fight smart.
Which fight in your career were you a little fearful of before you fought, if any?
Man, definitely Ruslan Provodnikov. You know, the guy was the boogeyman at the time that I fought him. He had just had a Fight of the Year fight with Tim Bradley where they were going back and forth, and everyone thought that he was literally the monster of the division. So.
You beat him.
Yeah.
You know, Chris, I'm glad you mentioned the boogeyman because I remember Triple G was a boogeyman. Kovalev was the boogeyman. Lomachenko was the boogeyman. Has Canelo become the new boogeyman in boxing?
I believe so. We saw it with Yildirim, the Mike Tyson effect. He was beaten before he went in the ring. We haven't seen that in decades. That's the boogeyman, and that's what Canelo represents these days.
100%. I definitely got to agree with you. But, you know, sometimes we look ahead of things, and it's okay. I think when a fighter says he doesn't want to look ahead, you overlook when you don't train hard. You want to plan your future. What's next after this, after Canelo, if he beats this Brit?
You know, I'm going to go off what he's been saying he wants to. He wants to unify 168. There's a couple other fighters in that division, a couple other champions that he needs, well, one other champion that he needs to fight, and that's Caleb Plant. Yeah. But there's also Benavidez, who's a monster, who's someone I think is a very, very stiff test, even for Canelo.
Right, but Canelo is trying to unify the division, trying to become undisputed, right? Benavidez, as great as he is, he doesn't have anything to offer. He holds no strap. So what would be the point of Canelo fighting Benavidez unless it's a Mexican type of, heritage thing? And he said recently that not anytime soon he's not looking to fight any Mexican fighters.
Bragging rights, basically.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I remember asking Floyd Mayweather, do you think these guys, when they fight you, do they really think they can beat you? He said, yes, they really see that from the outside. But to your point earlier, Barack, when they get in there, it's a different story. Chris, do you feel like when Billy Joe gets in that ring tonight against Canelo Alvarez, is it going to be a different story?
I do. I think at some point, probably in the middle rounds, especially toward the later rounds, the gap in their abilities are going to show. And I believe that Canelo is going to be very much in control in the last quarter of the fight, and that's really going to decide who the victor is.
Well, what do you think the difference was when he fought Callum Smith? Do you think it was just Callum Smith felt his power and then he backed off and he wasn't that normal Smith that we're used to seeing?
I think it was the speed. I believe that Canelo, one of the reasons he's moved up so much, we talked about him earlier in the telecast, he could literally probably be a welterweight at this point because of his height and his reach, but he's kept that speed, and he's fighting bigger guys who are slower. And even one division, those 8 pounds, there's a big difference in speed. He's fighting these bigger guys who are slower. I think Callum Smith just couldn't muster the speed or keep up with him and was just behind the 8 ball all night long.
Look, there's no question that Canelo Alvarez is loved, right? We got over 70,000 people coming here, but there's still a portion of the boxing community that don't like to give him credit for what he's done in the sport. I can foresee people saying Billy Joe hasn't really been in there. If Canelo were to get past Billy Joe, he hasn't been in there with an elite fighter. At what point will Canelo Alvarez get the credit he deserves and get his flowers now while he's still fighting?
I mean, I can't believe there's still people who doubt him and doubt what he's done. And, his pedigree is so long in history. He's 30 years old. He's got nearly 60 pro fights. He's a multiple-time world champion. I think once he unifies 168, looking at the guy that started at welterweight, now is a 168-pound unified world champion, I think everyone needs to shut their mouth and understand what they have in front of them.
But what would there be there to do afterwards, all right? Is Canelo going back up to 175 to challenge himself? Would he go back down to 160? What's left? I mean, he did mention recently that if he's open to fight Triple G, but if he does, it would have to be at 168. Now, will Triple G go up to 168? We don't know that. What do you see next if Canelo unifies this division?
Hey, what about a guy named Demetrius Boo Boo Andre, who everyone seems to duck? Go after the guy that everyone seems to duck, the guy that everybody seems to be avoiding. Be that guy who calls out that guy and do what you do.
I'm fine with that. I would love that fight. Can we put to bed 175 pounds?
I don't know if he should ever go back there. He had a perfect opportunity with Kovalev, did it, got that fifth title, or doesn't need to do it again. But if he does, there's a guy, Dimitri Bivol, who is a monster.
Right. Well, listen, we're in Texas, right? There's another guy that is from Texas. His name is Jamal Charlo. And no, he doesn't hold the title at 168, but he's a guy that people know. Yeah. So that's another fight that I like.
Absolutely.
Let's shoot over to the main event, or to the main card. now over to David Diamante.
Well, you see the atmosphere right now. We're not at 70,000 right now, but we're close.
No, it has to be around like maybe 30, 40,000 right here now. Like, look, they're scattered. People are all the way in the top bleachers. So you guys kick back. Like I said, get your refreshments ready. It's about to be a hell of a card on Dazn. Peace and love.
Canelo Alvarez, who has made it perfectly clear his goal in 2021 is to unify all 4 super middleweight belts.
Muy pocas zonas han logrado ser campeones unificados.
Ryan Garcia says no one is going to beat Canelo.
No other fighter at 168 has the resume that Canelo has.
To be a great, you've got to be fearless.
To fight a great, you have to be fearless.
I don't give a about Canelo Alvarez. Not too. This will be the biggest upset in boxing.
This fight is a mega fight.
It's history collecting all the belts. You get in this sport to win the belt.
It's fantastic for the sport.
Todos los títulos en 168 libras y obviamente en mexicano nunca ha habido ni uno.
These 2 fighters are fearless.
This is my night. We do what I want to do here.
This is the toughest fight left for Canelo Alvarez.
As us gypsies say, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over. It will not be all his own way.
This is going to be a massive fight.
This is a legacy fight.